Hey, everybody. All right.
I need to mute my watch. Josh Gates keeps calling me.
It's already cutting out on somebody's side.
Sunday looks stuck.
Yeah. Well, my internet isn't working, so I'm like using my phone as like a hotspot. So
Sometimes
we'll
it
see
works
how that
better.
goes.
I mean, I've I had to warn the family because now the kids are home from college, and I'm like, you need to be on your cellular, not the Wi-Fi right now. And they're like, oh no. I'm like,
where do they go to school?
They both go to Saginaw Valley State University, Michigan.
Oh, cool.
In the middle of Michigan. My
My
son stays on campus.
my niece is going to Michigan for supply chain, master's in supply chain. So she's there for a year. So she's freezing.
Oh, she's going to. You said Michigan State or U of M or?
She's
Tech?
what is it? Go Blue, that one.
U of M.
Yes,
U of M.
yes.
So she's kind of like an hour west where I moved from to here.
Okay.
She is not in the coldest spot.
Oh, really?
Imagination.
It looked cold to me. I'm from Florida, so.
Well, I mean, yeah. We went to Florida. We took the kids to. I decided we were just going to go to Disneyland, Disney World, and it was February because we came back on Valentine's Day. We were only there 3 days, and we only needed jackets because it kept raining off and on.
Nah.
It was awesome. Sunday's back.
I'm back.
He has issues, not you.
So, yes. So this just goes to show anybody, whoever wants to live stream, you can. It's very easy to live stream. It's probably harder to do it well, to have it actually stay connected and all that good stuff. But it's very easy to actually do it and just ride the wave and see what happens. So, anyhow, yeah. So there's always something. But we have fun though, right? We do that part right.
Oh yeah, I had no frustration on my face yesterday, huh, Tom? I was all just happy. And...
You guys stay on so long, like that's just not my vibe.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be doing that tonight. No offense.
It's longer than yeah. But we just keep going. We just like it's everybody's. I always feel like, okay, I'm gonna cut out. I'm gonna go, and then like, oh well, one last thing. Well, one last.
It's when you want to hear it back the next day, and you're like, oh, yeah, 3 hours.
Oh, well, no, you just don't ever rewatch it. I never watch anything that I'm on. I don't want to see that.
I know. I still haven't watched the one from last year. Ugh, yes.
Okay, so the tribute. So it's got some new, little new energy, right? Since the sketch has been put out. Yeah.
Well, and the comment. Well, so just to fill you in on me, I was not in the anniversary, so I didn't know y'all. And I wasn't doing that. But when I heard from other people that there was a line of the tribute verse in the anniversary, that's what spurred me to, get in more involved in that. And then I really was liking the puzzle and everything. So it was cool.
Nice.
But so there's those two things that I guess kind of came over from that sort of, right? I guess the sketch, not so much.
And I still can't even guess what line it was. It is.
I know.
So I don't know. But
I would love to see that early released verse.
Yeah, that would be great. I want somebody to hurry up and Mike Stewart says he's in Louisville right now. So that's cool. Yeah.
When the comments come up, it just says Facebook user. Is that how it's supposed to? Okay.
Yeah. If you tag yourself, you guys on Facebook, if you tag yourself and it links, like it goes blue, then it will tell us who you are. And I think it just kind of follows down. Like once you've done it once, then you will have your name there for all the comments following. So, okay.
There's Couch to Code that says testing and it looks like, is that to YouTube?
That's me. That was
I was squinting.
That's an old company I had. I need to
This area
change
looks
all that.
familiar on the little teeny picture I see right now.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, so we have Sasha's watching, Marsha's watching, Tim and Jace Thomas are all with us, and Mike, who's in Louisville. So that's pretty cool. So let's dive in. Tom, what do you got? What are you thinking about on the tribute these days?
Oof. Well, with the sketch, I just feel like it really was interesting that the high gold wasn't on it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a major change from if that's what their final choice was. And I'd love to know like the reasoning behind that.
Sure.
So it was, obviously it was a comparison, right? What's there, what's in both. I mean, in a very general sense, Hogan's, Christensen, Bernheim, like those are like there. They're also on the verse, right? So it's like it's very interesting from a painting, side of it. The two keys, I think that's super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been working this theory forever that I know it sounds crazy, but that there is something in the trees somewhere. So
I mean, yeah.
When you take Olivia off the acrostic, there is another. You could derive an acrostic that's a cavity from those letters that are left. So there was a lot of theories like, oh, it's not necessarily buried. It's in a tree cavity. It's in a cave cavity. It's in a nook or somewhere or something. But I don't think that's what. I think it's buried, but I think that there's two trees or keys in the trees in some cavities or something where you find those, and that is like part of the find all clues.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, it would be great if there was something in a tree. I mean, even if the thing is buried, if there was something in a tree to tell you, hey, it's right here. You know what I mean? And truthfully, I mean, you probably just from off your comment about the keys in the tree, you could probably hang a skeleton key, like a really cool, like just, not bright and shiny gold, brass or whatever, but just kind of a dull metal skeleton key in a tree, and it wouldn't be found for years,
I mean, it's just people. I know why people wouldn't think that's the case, because it could be taken down, tree limbs are cut.
Sure.
Fall. I get it. But if it was in like a cavity, like a geocache type thing, very small potentially.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know. It's a theory. So I'll read you. There's a Kit Palancar answer to some question in an interview.
I might have it. Let's see. Is it this? These are a couple that I pulled from that Calazar's interview.
No, but this is from an actual written interview. And I wanted to just say this because it goes to the tree theory.
Okay.
It's Kit Palancar. Honestly, I thought it would have been discovered months ago, and it's mind-boggling to hear that it's already been 6 months. One thing my father told me was that sometimes it's obvious stuff that goes over people's heads. What people can't see is often in plain sight. So I just that's always stuck with me as maybe a hint. I don't know. There's been so many clues and things from, JM and more subtly from Kit, I feel, over the years.
Sure.
To push it along. Definitely JM. Yeah.
So, I mean, also kind of going back through that is because Kit had also said something along the lines of it's looking at there's something in the painting that if you figure it out, then you can get it from that, right? So that's kind of goes along with it's right there. It's in front, Kit would be saying it's right there in front of you. I thought this was really interesting from this kind of builds on that point from the Calazar's interview that you set up with Kit for, and you read this off as a quote from mysterious writings that he had talked about, and said, well, you go ahead, you read it. It was your thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's been quotes by Jan and Kit in those interviews really impressing that there's a lot more to the puzzle part of it, right? Like figures, authors, significant places, and people throughout the world. And then even to say over the lifespan of the United States, that's like a lot, right? Like it's not just Enid Yanda or, Buchanan or
there's
like
no
like
one thing.
It just seems like there's a lot more to it than just like going around scenic loop and picking out a couple of statues. Like there has to be some puzzle aspect to it that would bring you to the treasure ground / dig spot.
Yeah, for sure.
He's said many times, do you walk right to it so that you would know after you solved it? Same with George's puzzle, right? It's so to just say, oh well, there's Christensen in the painting and in the verse. There has to be this narrative, right? This something else, which is the hardest part because it's a puzzle without a definition.
Yeah.
What is the puzzle? That's the hardest part to find out.
I wanted to share this because Sasha, this was kind of like I was thinking along these same lines. I had a really interesting conversation with Daniel Burke earlier today. And so we know, like, we can kind of put together a couple of things. We know that there's history involved, right? And so what history, and then we know there's a book involved. Well, what book? It's The Secret. So could it just be the history that's in The Secret, in the front of The Secret? And we were talking about that earlier today because so the front of the book kind of starts off with the passage to the New World. Well, I guess there's like 4 chapters, I guess you could call them, in the front of the book. And so the passage to the New World starts off, and it has Dingle in it, like the 3rd paragraph has Dingle in it or whatnot. But it talks about Ruddy Elf, right? Who was the first, like, they called him like from the north, from Scandia. So like Norse, right? And that would tie in easily with the Viking ship, the Christensen fountain kind of thing. Okay, so they call him Ruddy Alf, and then they talk about, but really, if you read the story, it kind of echoes Eric the Red. And then you go down, and then you've got like Savinelli, who's Italian from Genoa, and his story echoes like Christopher Columbus, kind of thing. So, so the front of the book, I took it as, and this was way before the tribute and everything, but like kind of like an analogy of kind of a blending of this fair folk lore and actual history, legends and things like that of history. But back to like, what if that's the history that we're supposed to tie into?
That's interesting. So let's say that was it, because I've read that too, because I do believe there's something puzzle-wise that involves the book. So I never thought of it that way, right? Like if we interpreted each of the 13 things into actual history.
Well, what about even easier than that? Hey, Rich.
Hello.
How are you?
How's everybody doing? I'm good.
Great.
What are we discussing?
We were just talking about, we had a comment about, let me pull this back up. So we're talking about a quote from, a couple of quotes that, one of them from Kit about how history, it really ties in. And this was really early on, I think, right, Tom? Like the Mysterious Writings interview was pretty early on. Whoops, hold on. And so Kit said, you'll need world history. There's a narrative behind the painting and the verse, and it references figures, authors, significant places, people throughout the world, and over the lifespan of the United States. So that was kind of his answer to what do we need to know, or what's something really important to solve this hunt. So that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah. So, and then Sasha had said, well, what if the world history is just fair folk history? So we were diving into how the front of the book could just be taken as like an analogy for real world history. So you have like Ruddy Alf is the first one that comes over and sets foot on the northern coast, but his stories really follows along with like Eric the Red. And then you have like Savinelli, and he's from Genoa, and he comes over, and like Christopher Columbus. Yeah. So what if that's the history that maybe we need to tie in? And so we were talking about like Ruddy Alf, he's Norse, like he's from Scandia. So it says in the book. So then that could kind of tie back to the ship, the Christensen Fountain. So you've got the Viking ship, and something super fast. You know how we do these, like hoping that something someone says will kind of like spark something or like put something together. So the last two that we've had have had something in there that I just can't unhear, or I can't like get out of my mind. And so Leanne said the artwork on the verse, she said something really interesting about it. Let's see if I can push all these buttons at once to get that back up here. But she said, what if, you have the dragon head and then you have the cat tails? So that's pretty interesting. It's the head and the tail. So, like the beginning, maybe the beginning and the end, something like that tied in. Yeah. Isn't that neat? And then Daniel Burke yesterday said that the Christensen Fountain is actually depicting a Viking burial. And what they would do is they would take the Viking ships and they would bury them into the hillside, which is like a big keyword, like, hillside. You're like, okay, that's very interesting. And even the Christensen Fountain kind of looks like it has that dug out into the hill. And then it's not just a ship. It has, the rock face around, like that kind of thing. So that was really interesting that he said the hillside. And then he also said, and I had never thought of it this way, but the Hogan, the Pan sculpture could be marsh because it has.
I just started thinking that.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about the bridge, being the one other thing that shows up in at least I think so, the pillar from the bridge in the sketch and the new painting. I mean, that is kind of down in the valley where the creek runs through too.
Oh yeah. Very nice. That's true. That's totally true.
Well, so is Valley where the Bernheim Bridge is, though? Would that be a valley or no?
I mean, I would consider, the bottom of the creek bed, I would think would be the lowest point that probably runs through the park. I mean, topographically. So, I mean, that kind of would be the bottom of a valley if you could say there's a valley there.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. And that's like one of the bigger bridges. Like some of them are pretty small. So that would, also kind of give strength to that point of it being more of a low point if the creek itself even is bigger at that point. So sorry, I think I got off on a tangent there.
What was the word I sent you the other day, Sunday? Throw the R.
Did you just ask me what was the R word?
Yes, the R word, not that R word.
No, I mean, I don't know an R word, but like, that's funny. You're like, what word did I say? It started with R.
Well, it describes an area that kind of encompasses the marsh hill cliff.
Oh, like a ravine?
Okay.
No, like
no, it's a. I'm gonna look on my text.
Okay.
And you guys keep going. But it's like a geographic term, and obviously it really stuck in my head really well. But I'll find it in a second, you guys.
That line to me, I guess I'm always stuck on Nicola Marshall as the inventor of in the verse that in Marsh Hill, So people have been posted before about how that guy who invented the Confederate flag is buried in Cave Hill. So they think that's play on words.
Oh, okay.
As another figure, right? Another history element.
Yeah.
But I do like that idea, just because of the way that the new sketch came out, right? It seems like those are like the 3 focus points, and I would say like, okay, let's triangulate it and get the middle, and that's the spot. But like, the bridge is not. I don't know if he would do something that generic, right? Because it would be very difficult to find the middle, right? It all depends
the perfect middle. Yeah, I don't think.
So I've been working a theory of Boone, Christensen, Hogan in the middle. It actually is like a walking path in the trees. There's actually a little bridge there. But obviously I'm not there. I don't know I wouldn't know where to go from that point. Like, that's not really solving it, but I just know Jam liked angles.
Sure.
So I could see some type of a triangulation of some sort.
And if you add Dingle in there, because it gets tied to the front of the book, and I don't know that you do, but it also means, if you look up, it's a geographical term for valley, so maybe that kind of loops in. And then maybe you have the southern end, because Dingle and Bernheim are, kind of next to, they're both on that southern end. Maybe that's the valley area, and you have, but I had one interesting thing. Oh, go ahead. Did I cut somebody? Sorry. So I had one interesting idea. I was talking to Daniel earlier today, and I just want to run this by you guys, and then I will, we can just go wherever the wind takes us. But expanding on that idea of like, what if, let me get over here to the slides. Sorry, guys. So what if the history that we're supposed to have is the history of that's in the front of the book? And if you just kind of simplify it, it kind of runs along the fair folks come over. They live in harmony amongst the Native Americans for a while until the Europeans arrive, and then they have to go into hiding. And so kind of in a nutshell, that's kind of the front of the book. So what if something like that is going on, like what we need to know for the park? Hold on. I don't know why. Let me try this again. It's not moving. The slides aren't changing. So we have Dingle, right? And in the front of the book, the Fairfolk guy leaves Dingle. So he goes out of Dingle and he comes to North America. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with the slide, but you can just imagine. We've all looked at the map of Cherokee a million times. So if you can imagine like an arrow just coming out of Dingle and that Dingle area. So he leaves Dingle and he comes to North America. He lives harmoniously amongst the Native Americans. Where's the one spot in Cherokee that would symbolize kind of living with the Native Americans?
We would have been the teepee structure that they tore down, probably, right?
Yes. So they live harmoniously with the Native Americans. Then the Europeans come, the first of which, not that the Vikings or the Norse did persecuted the Native Americans or anything like that, but the first of which of the Americans, the Europeans to come over were the Vikings, right? To find North America. So then you have the Christensen on that further side. So imagine a arrow coming this way towards the teepee. So then they have to hide. So then they leave the Hogan Pavilion to go and hide. And where's the last place that we have all of these clues about that we haven't used yet?
The bridge.
We haven't used the bridge. But we haven't used the marsh.
The marsh.
Yeah. So maybe that's where they ran to hide. Maybe You know, it could be they ran to the marsh to hide, or they took the bridge. You know, like a lot of people like the Big Rock area or whatever. Maybe something like that.
Big Rock's interesting because it's kind of off to the side, right? It's not in the loop.
Yeah.
Like, how would you get there besides just painting references and stuff?
Well, the bridge is heavily, represented, but I mean, I like the marsh. I like the whole idea of the Hogan Fountain. I have one picture, but I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why my slides are not working.
Hey, do you know how long it took me to get that stuff up last night?
I just want to have like one picture, but it's so if it was like the biggest thing in the painting is this house, right? And so why is the house the biggest thing in the painting? You could also, and then there's a house in the teepee, or the Hogan's Pavilion could also be a house. And it's interesting that, damn it, these things won't show me a picture, but I have a picture of it. But it's, if you go to the far side of the fountain, so just up against the trees, and you're looking back at the fountain, and you used to could see Hogan's Pavilion there as well, right? Well, when you're looking at the fountain, you've got the dog down on the ground, right? And you've got the figure that's doing like a pose, you know, and then you've got a house behind it. So what if maybe that's what we're supposed to line up? Maybe that's the thing.
You have a Murdoch up there too, right?
Yes, a fountain. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of visual matches right there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Especially what used to have the big teepee, the Hogan's Pavilion, on the handle from Linda's drawing too, that kid did.
Yes. And if you look right under the Hogan's Pavilion, it looks like the base of the fountain. Because, you know, the fountain kind of comes up, and then it doesn't just in one smooth thing. It has like, it juts out in different places. And I had that picture, but it's not, it's not working. But yeah, you're right. That's what I think too. And on that same drawing, that same sketch, it starts at the Boone's on one end, and then Hogan Pavilion and maybe I think the fountain are at the other end.
At the other end, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
I found the word Sunday.
Okay, what you got?
Took a lot of looking. Riparian, Riparian. Yes, it does start with an R. I was there.
Okay. What does it mean? I don't know.
Riparian.
Yes, it's, to me, I interpret it as it would cover the marsh, hillside, and valley deep. It's like Floyd's Fork area. Why am I yelling? I don't know.
It doesn't sound like you're yelling.
Yeah, sounds like, basically the Louisville Loop.
Oh, okay.
Is considered part of that. It's not like all of Louisville or all the U.S. because they have all these three things. It's almost like when you find those three type of features in certain areas.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, and there's that Riparian Ramble Trail.
Nice.
That is, and it's only a mile, like a 1.2 mile long trail. So it was just something that I thought was interesting, and the whole point of it is to keep the natural things natural, and if people have been building buildings, they'll get it back more to the natural state.
Oh, nice.
That kind of stuff. So it's just a random squirrel thing I stumbled upon. That's what I sent you Saturday, if you want to look back through all of our texts.
Okay.
to figure out what the heck I was talking about.
That's funny.
At the time, it was cool.
It is cool.
Riparian.
Yes. Very fancy word.
And I don't know the answer to this. Does anyone know the answer to this? No. I think they're given like a
I would assume the park.
Like, available spots that you can pick from. Yeah, I think.
It's not.
I think it did take a while to put it. That one or the first one? One of the benches that they put in, there was a bit more hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
Kind of thing to be able to put it in.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool if the spot was in view of the bench?
That would be so cool.
That would be pretty
really
neat.
That would be convenient.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was totally by chance, that would be freaking awesome.
Yeah, right. Because the bench is up by the pavilion and fountain, right? If I remember correctly, it's up on the hillside there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible.
And Joe says it's interesting because his bench faces the Stengel Pavilion, which I can't even pronounce.
Yeah, that's the new pavilion. I guess that is replacing the Hogan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it? I thought that was already there.
Yeah, why does that name sound familiar? Stengel.
It's different. It's a different thing.
By new, I just mean like not like 1974. Yeah, or whenever the Hogan went in.
Schmiegel, my precious.
I have to get there. I still haven't been there. I live in Florida, so it's a little harder to just get there.
Yeah. Right.
Joe says that's the one by the basketball courts.
Okay. I got to drive the loop and snap some pictures as it was getting dark on my way down to Charleston this spring. But that was about it. I didn't get to explore the park as much as I wanted to.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool
yeah.
to just be there, though.
If I was that close, I'd have to just throw the family out of the car and
spend the day.
Spend the full day looking up in the trees.
Yeah, right.
Just get in the car. It's a surprise.
So, Rich, what are you thinking these days?
I really went back and started. My favorite parts are looking at the paintings. I won't lie. I like looking at the paintings and Google Earth and looking for clues that are hidden pictorially. But I went back and really started looking at the verse. And like being from Minnesota, Milwaukee is my favorite. Milwaukee is the one I've done. And there's some things going on with the Milwaukee verse where I don't think it's in order. And there's juggling kind of like the painting. And I look at this verse and I don't kind of wonder the same thing sometimes, or at the very least, I think Milwaukee was designed to take you in a loop if you don't have it in the right order, where you go up and down the stairs and right back. And I think with the scenic loop on this one, if you don't figure out whatever puzzle he has, I think it's designed to essentially do the same thing Milwaukee does, just bring you right back to Boone if that's where you start.
Yeah,
it kind of does if you just go in the order of the verse, sort of.
Right.
But I think you figure out the puzzle and then maybe you find that dingle or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's some out of orderness going on.
So I'm a little opposite. The painting to me is great for like markers and confirming type things, but I believe the verse is way more important to telling you where to go and solving the puzzle part, in my opinion. I don't know if that's true, but if you could have multiple paintings, and I just feel like in the old secret ones, right? The verses are what drove you to the spots. The paintings were more like, oh, there's a city mark, there's a spot in a park, right? It didn't really take you spot to spot to spot, right?
Right.
And I do agree with you. The verse, I don't know if it's in order, but I have one insight. I won't say who told me this, but the first, I had the verse in front of me. The starting point. Let's just say if it was high gold, because that's the main part of the painting. Like, I was told that you take 60 and then alt 60 back to the par. That's the twin.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Yeah.
Now, if that's the case, then maybe it essentially is in order. But I believe there's more to the twin part. I think that's why there's two keys. I think that's why there's an assembly, right? Like I don't know if you've in which one was it? Indiana Jones, where the medallion, right? Or is that National Treasure? One of the two, where you got to put the pieces together to get to understand what
Raiders
it is.
To get the right height.
Right. I mean, and there's one of the sketches. I forget which one, but it has an Indiana Jones hat potentially on the top. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh yeah, of the alternate handle for the. We'll see if the slides will work now.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's been multiple references to like Indiana Jones and National Treasure, and like they all have this like there's puzzles in there that are being solved, right? So if it's an assembly, like, and there's a line in there that says find all clues, like I believe, and there's even been a quote from Kidd in one of his other podcasts where he said one of the previous painting discussions was like trophies, right? And there was going to be like almost like a trophy case on there. Like, that's interesting, right? Because maybe those are like, you had to find each one of these clues, and when you put them all together, it told you where to go.
Yeah. Which also to, again, like this made me think of it when Rich was saying Milwaukee and the juggler, which Jam was a huge proponent of. So they, I forgot what I was going to say. The juggler. Okay, so you have a juggler in the painting, and then you have pass, a juggling term, right? That shows up like it could cut the verse into 3 sections, and then that's where you get the 3 juggling balls and things like that. Well, both of the sketch and the painting had things on strings. So are we supposed to somehow string something together? You know, like we have ABC 1, 2, 3. Maybe it's letters of some sort. Maybe we're supposed to string together. I don't know. Like, I don't know. But, you know, there's strings, or there's because it is odd that a few things are hanging just on strings, and then you've got the butterfly. It's not on a string, but it's on like an odd thing that looks like it could just like turn upside down anytime, you know, like, yeah. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, George, who seems to have some extra knowledge of what's gone on in the past with this puzzle, seems to take this string and hanging thing as like, maybe we should look up.
Yeah. What you're saying about the butterfly, I had mute on because of cats. Or how it could spin, be like a weather vane.
Sure.
Yeah, which butterflies on the wind. I kind of see it.
I find the butterfly interesting when you turn it to the side, and it looks to me like some people think it's a archer because there's archery.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever turned it to the side, but it definitely has a person look. I had my theory that it's a baseball. It's actually a certain baseball player, but
I was going to say, don't say baseball to Evie.
Why?
I just have hate over Boston. The whole digging up a baseball field, and after seeing those pictures of that archaeological dig in St. Augustine right now, because they found that boat when they were working on the bridge or the road or whatever, and you see how deep 3 feet is, it's like, oh, come on. You're going to do that on compacted baseball field dirt.
Yeah, not easy.
Somebody's got some serious upper body strength. I mean, so that's
anybody who's been out digging knows. I mean, God, it takes twice as long as it does in your yard. You know what I mean? Like there's something. It's like it's the weirdest thing. It's like theoretically you could practice in your backyard and get it down like really fast, and like get your technique and all of that ready to grow, and then you get on site, and it doesn't matter if it's in your same city theoretically, and you have the same kind of ground. It doesn't matter. Like it's like it takes twice as long. Nothing works. you're always looking over your shoulder. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it is hot. Like 3 feet is that's a lot.
I even underestimate how difficult probing is once you're poking about 30 holes in the ground. Like that gets tiring too.
After like about a half a dozen, people don't understand. Like after half a dozen, and you have to do it on like a 4-inch grid, or just forget it. You might as well not even be doing it. You're just like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I eventually have to just hook my elbows underneath it to start pulling it up instead of doing it this way, because that's the motion that really gets me.
Yeah.
Well, plus, what if there's been a shifting of land over time, and so it's actually you need to go 4 feet deep because
who knows at this point, right?
That's the truth. In a grassy area, that's very that's entirely likely. I don't know about in 5 years, but like over a long period of time.
Yeah, the old ones.
Yeah.
I have a list of questions that I did. So that night I came in from like a Christmas party and I was like a little like quick and tipsy and didn't really have my list. And then I was thrown off because Cal Lazars, that I love them, but they're newbies to the whole thing. So they were like, not really like, I couldn't get like my
traction. Yeah.
My good like vibe questions in like at the end where I thought I could like
sneak a few
soften
in.
them up. And I had this whole thing like I was going to say like, all right, I'm going to do a game. Is this something or nothing? And then I was going to say like, all right, bricks on the facade wall. You know, yes.
And he put up a wall. He put straight up a wall.
Like,
he's like, they're all going to be nothing.
He didn't want to do that. So I know someone Ashley just said something about the note treasure be the overlooked puzzle.
Yeah.
No one has come up with anything for that. What does that mean? That has to have a meaning. He wouldn't just put a clue that has no meaning, right?
No, then Overlook showed up in his little flash with a rabbit hole distillery too.
Mm-hmm.
It did. It did. So, I mean, I could tell you my theory is that treasure is the overlooked puzzle. What is the treasure?
Friendship.
No. Pink tourmaline.
That was funny. No.
No. But you don't know, right? Like, what could it be? Silver, gold, like. But the treasures, the main thing in the treasure that's hanging on the painting is the pink tourmaline.
Yeah.
The only thing I can come up with, like, that is like the birthstone of October. And I know people have heard my theories on that. Ashley has her theory. But I believe that the puzzle is something revolving around like famous people's birth dates. October, for example. But I don't know how to put those, like I found the clues that match those things, but what do I do with, like, what would you do with it even if you found those things? Like, if you don't know what the puzzle is and you have a collection of things, like, I don't know what the tie-in is to, like, come up with a dig spot or a treasure grounds, right? It says to, you know, place some ground, right? I believe, like, you solve this little puzzle and it gives you, like, where the treasure grounds is, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like two things. Like, one, treasure ground really speaks or stands out to me because I'm in Houston, and then that's in the Houston verse. And so in Houston, when you're standing on treasured ground and you look back, you turn around, then there's a spout, which is I think a fountain. And I think everyone, even the like children's zoo people, think it's a fountain. And then you hear the whistle, which was the train that was specific to Houston. But I mean, that treasured ground could be, you know, because I know that JM was also a proponent of the children's zoo idea, and that was a fountain that was like a little brownie, like a fair folk kind of fountain.
Oh yeah, Kim.
But treasure be the overlooked puzzle. What like? It doesn't say treasure ground. It says like the treasure is the overlooked puzzle. Like, how could the treasure be like a puzzle, right? Like, what is that? Like, it has to mean that I just feel like the treasure. You should be looking at what the treasure is, and there's a puzzle derived around it. And that was the only thing I could come up with from the actual treasure that we have, right? It could be something around silver. It could be something around, because I know there's pictures of them holding, right, like the silver at different locations where they Photoshop themselves into spots.
Yeah.
So it could be something around silver. But if you look at the verse, I always found it odd that if you go back just for one sec, where it says one casque, why is casque capitalized? Like, that's all the other things are.
That one
not.
line it always seems so out of place to me.
Right.
Like,
so then I thought, like, all right, well, let me get all the capital letters from the whole thing together in a line. And then I noticed one casque, and the next line is 2. So OCT was October to me, told me I might be onto something, right? So I have all these like little things that could just be coincidence, but
did I see somebody mention that the tourmaline is also like a gemstone for a month? And why did I want to say it was October?
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing
alternate
it up.
for October, right? Is that?
Yeah, I'm saying, like, if you look at October as the birthstone and then try to like take what all the things are that we found, like Enid Yandel's birthday is October. Frank Herbert, who was in the library pictures, Dragon in the Sea book, who could be kind of tied to the Christian Fountain, his birthday is October. The 10 dots and the 8 on the circle, which is Christian Fountain, which you could say is Dragon in the Sea, 10/8 is his birthday. So I have all these like little crazy like things that I feel like can't be a coincidence, but I don't know how to put that mess together. So I was collecting like these birth dates to see if like maybe you take those numbers and derive maybe a GPS or some kind of direction.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I have been trying to do something similar with, like, I've still been trying to figure out why they picked the names and misspelled their names in Kot and Ja Ek, because it's obviously Kit and JM. Like, why the changes in letters on just parts of that? And yeah, that's been bugging me for a while, but I can't come up with anything good there. There's some similar numbers going on, like
fun. Just
3. I feel like I don't know, but something weird there too.
Yep. And then we have the ABC 1, 2, 3, but it's not only just 1, 2, 3. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. You know,
and 7.
So are we looking for something D because we have 1, 2, 3, 4? Are we looking for something? Is G? G is 7, right? I think so. Is it like, are we looking for DG? Are we looking for EF because we're missing 5, 6? You know what I mean? Like, it's So
yeah,
I don't have a theory for that other than I feel like it's some kind of triangulation or maybe a star, because he did post a picture of just a random picture of like a big star, like grocery store, like a sign. It's a big star in it. Just made no sense. I mean, obviously it made sense to him, but not to me. So I don't know if it was a clue or if it was, not a clue.
Yeah, I find it interesting that the one cask line starts the backward Olivia too. Like, I feel like I don't know, that line. And so Olivia's on a bench in the park, right? Is my understanding. Where does anybody know where that bench is exactly, or roughly?
Yeah, sure. Right after the boon. So when the boon is like a parking area, it's it's right on the edge of the parking area. And then when you go into the park, the first 2 benches, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but the first 2 benches as on that walking trail.
Like right before the spring or right after the spring?
It's
It's
on the
right after
Barrens or
Boone.
Overlook down the hill.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so if we're looking at Boone, and then you have like Barringer Overlook. So right after Boone, the first two benches on that path are Edwin and Olivia. And then
Okay.
like notably Olivia is actually a dog.
Yep.
They actually say, like whoever the people that are written in the memorial on the bench, and then how much they love playing with their dog Olivia in the park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting that it's there because if you take that trail, you can also cross 4 spans and ends up pretty much in the middle of the park, down in the ravine or valley too.
Right, and that's right under the overlook. That trail that goes through there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So at one point, I thought maybe that's like the 7th bench, because they have the bench railing, the bench arms in the picture, and then it looks like maybe a probe like right at the bench. I thought maybe like the 7th bench or the 4th bench, 4 spans, the span could be between the 2 arms of a bench. You got 1 span, 2 span, 3, but I don't know what the 4th one is, but it goes Edwin, Olivia, and Mimi, interestingly enough. And, Mimi, like the fair folk. And then she was the lady that actually wanted to take down Hogan Pavilion. Not that she's in the puzzle because it didn't say Mimi, it just says Edwin and Olivia. But
do you think those acrostics are like part of the find all clues and then they just mean something later when you like assemble it together?
I think they almost have to.
If it's a throwback to the one obvious acrostic from St. Augustine, I feel like that is the case, right? Because I don't think it's buried probably in the exact archaeological dig of Selloy, but that kind of gives you the general location. Yeah. I mean, that would be my guess.
It's just interesting there's the 2 acrostics. Like, why not just do Olivia?
And, I mean, recently, and I didn't know this until I was speaking with Daniel, but, they have there's a Marsh family bench. There's a Hill family bench. And they are, I don't know, they're either right next to each other or they're like one bench in between. And that's on that walking circle that's just south of the Hogan Pavilion, where they have everything. They have the playground, the pavilion, the basketball courts, whatever. Then they've got that loop right there, that small D-shaped loop. But Daniel said that those weren't in place until after the casque was placed.
Okay.
So, I mean, we know it's so hard because we don't really have anything that we can really like stick firmly to, because then you want to say, okay, well then they're not part of the puzzle because they were after the casque. But then we know that the verse wasn't the verse was rewritten like right before it came out. And so you can't even say, yes, it's part of the puzzle, or no, it's not part of the puzzle. So that's what I was so excited about Hill being the Viking Hill burials, and then Marsh being like the cattails and stuff, because then it still gives you a hill and a marsh.
I mean, Edwin is in the secret verse.
Yeah.
6, but
twins. Yeah.
I mean, methods passed.
Edwin and Edwina. No, I don't know if they're twins, but they're both his children, Edwin and Edwina.
I think they were at least siblings, yeah.
Yeah.
But what does that do for you? It just gives you a spot.
I hate it because then you're like, well, is it kids and dogs? You know what I mean? Or is it like, what was Edwin? I don't even know what Edwin was, but he was like an activist and a dog, or like an author and a dog, or, so I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff it could be.
Isn't Olivia a character in a book or something? It's a pig, or has a series?
No, Olivia is a kid's character, pig, yep.
That would be interesting.
I posted that a few times, but no one seems to latch on to that. It's the only thing I could find that made sense. It's weird. I know it's weird, but
I mean, there's a dog in the painting, and Olivia is a dog on the bench. So
Olivia
maybe
the pig cartoon has Edwin in it, and it has Perry in it, who's also on the bench. Perry is the dog. So there's many things that I know it's weird, and I'm like, do I bother watching this? So I'm like,
Well,
hell
who's
no.
it written by? Is
I
it
looked
like
that up too. It didn't make any sense. Ian something didn't really click. So I'm like, all right, well, let me look at the episodes. And there happens to be an episode about finding treasure. I did watch it, and believe it or not, the treasures clues are hanging in the trees, and then they take the 3 clues from the trees and they put them together.
Oh shit! Okay, there you go.
Funny.
What are their clues?
Wall, like a picture of a wall.
Yeah.
A picture of a nut, and then a tree or something like that, and then
so a walnut tree. Okay.
They put those together, and then this pig goes when gets the treasure.
We have a tree, a wall, and a rock. Or a chair.
Yeah, I wish I know Joseph, he told me he would look up more. So I know
is there
he's there
a Cherokee tree? Yeah, Joseph. That's really good. That's who you want on your team right there. Someone that's like right there local. Is there a Cherokee tree? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Tree, because Olivia is also towards olive tree.
Oh.
There is a tree that has a bunch of names like carved in it, and one
of
bigger
them
name is Olivia.
That's
and then
true.
There's a tree that somebody found, Michael, who found like he calls it a glyph, like it looks like a painted key on the tree. Yeah. So maybe it could be like you find those markers, and that's what we
do something with them.
Do something with it. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, there's other stuff too. There's a begonia that's named Olivia.
I feel like we just kind of keep coming back to, we have all of these things, but none of them stand out. You know, like we have a lot of pieces. We can keep finding more pieces, or you know what I mean? But we don't, like, what's the tiebreaker? Like, what's the thing that tells us this is the piece?
Well, you want the narrative, right?
Yeah.
The theme. If you know it, I think you'll be able to solve it. The problem is we don't know that.
Yeah. So I was just rewatching the Christmas special because I had not seen that before with JM, and his thing was there was one thing in the painting, and as soon as somebody figured that out, so it seems like we're missing something from the painting. He talked about flipping it upside down, and when you were on the spot where you thought you were, and I don't know, I feel like there's something in the painting that's going to give away this final spot, and then once you get there, you're going to see these other things, and it's going to be more obvious to you. But I think like listening to him talking about like digging it up, he had to go back. Like, I very much feel like you're lining things up like Chicago, to find the spot, where if you don't line them up exactly, you're off by that little bit. So it's like, so then there's got to be either something he's referencing in the verse or things in the painting that are giving you the points that you need to find that final spot. And what are they exactly?
And even if he used points, like you said the word point, like a GPS point to be the solution, right? Like that doesn't always, I don't know if you've ever tried to like use your phone and get to like an exact, like it's not super simple to like.
No, I do expect it to be something more visual, kind of like Chicago was. You're going to pair a fixture maybe, and then maybe, the tree is mentioned in the verse because it's one of the numbers or items. Maybe you pair the Christensen fountain with a bench or something like that. I really feel like a bench is an indicator on where to dig for sure, with that little tiny bench, and then it looks like a prod going right by it. But who knows?
Yeah, it definitely could be. I mean, that would make so much sense. And that's another reason why I really got super excited about, dang it. I feel, so there was an idea that one of my friends had earlier in the week. And the theory that I gave out earlier was the spot that was born of that idea, I guess you could say. But it's I can't say the idea, and it's so stinking good, or at least it's something really new. And like, you're like, oh crap, yeah, that could totally be it. Like, why did we not see that? Like from the day one, So hold on just a second. I'm going to try something else to see if I can share my screen.
So wait, so you're not allowed to say what this is?
No, but it led me to the spot that I was describing. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to share it or not, because I can't get a hold of them. Like they are just kind of, they're kind of like a part-time person. You know what I mean? Like they have boundaries and normal, so they like don't do this all the time. So like they'll just go off for a few days, and so I'm like, okay, I respect it, but
that's impressive. That's an impressive skill.
It is impressive, right? That's what I'm saying. So,
Okay, so I don't have the willpower.
Is this idea clue or painting based? Can you say that?
It is very much like verse assembly. Like it does something using kind of like, okay, so it uses ABC. I can say this part. It uses kind of like ABC 1, 2, 3 as a method. Like it's a teaching method. Like it shows you what you're supposed to do. And so the way that ABC is items, right? Like, so A is like a man of adventure, right? And so you could take a map and you could label Boone with an A on it. And then Christensen, Dragon of the Sea, it becomes the sea, right? It's labeled with the capital C. So you could label Christensen on the map with a capital C. And then whatever your emblem of B is, you could label it with a capital B, right? So it takes these items and it reduces them to a letter. And then the 1, 2, 3 is you put those letters in order, and it gave you a word. And it's like, oh, well, that's a word that could take you somewhere, And so, and then that's where I ended up with. I'm going to try to share my screen because I don't know why the slides are not working, but let me just try to share my screen and show you guys this picture. But it's really interesting because it, not only is it like that idea will get you here, but also the idea that we were just talking about earlier with like Dingle will get you here. As far as like if you leave Dingle, you go and you live in harmony with the Native Americans. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay. So can you guys see that? Because I can't see you guys anymore, but
yeah, I see it.
Okay. So this is kind of that alignment. And then this picture on the right is just a picture that I got off the internet. So it's not perfect alignment. But it kind of gives you the idea. So you've got the idea of you go and live with the Native Americans like the Fair folks did. Where's the one place in the park that you could live with the Native Americans in this teepee-shaped pavilion? And then it plays off, well, why is the high gold the biggest clue? Maybe it's home and home. You know what I mean? Like you substitute one home for the other home, and then you realize, hey, look at this, the figure kind of, you've got a figure standing here with, an interesting pose, and you've got the dog right there at the bottom. And maybe that's something that you could line up. And like I said, when the Europeans arrived, which started with the Vikings, then you flee the Native American home or their homes that they had amongst the Native Americans, and maybe they hid in the marsh. And then, so if you kind of go off that, then maybe the far side of the fountain might be the spot. And if you're kind of lining something up like that, I mean, you could easily it gives you a spot, but it gives you like a spot, give or take like 2 feet, on either side, kind of a sort of thing, so that could definitely be.
Well, before you change the screen, I mean, because the way you have it built up, I guess I could say, I mean, that looks like that piece is the chess piece in that upper window.
Oh, the pan,
Oh.
you mean?
Well,
Yeah, the base of a fountain statue, and then it could even be. It's hard to tell because of the angle, the shadow. I mean, you've got the basic shapes.
you do, because it's never really matched any of the Murdochs really good in the park, I felt like.
Right, especially that rim, that
Yeah.
like the tie that's underneath, like the first feet. You know how it comes in, and you got that definite trim line, and then it goes like that, and then goes into the bowl.
And I mean, there's a lot going on. Like, yeah, like you said, so maybe the Murdoch is just fountain. Like George was saying, maybe face is just face. Maybe you're supposed to face something, you know, instead of like an actual face that you need to identify. Or maybe fountain is fountain. Maybe home is home. This, you know what I mean? Like these are the things that we're supposed to, we're supposed to line up.
Someone says it matches the Murdoch at Behringer exactly. Joe said.
Yeah, but I think there's several Murdoch fountains across the park, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said those fountains and benches can be found anywhere. So I mean, this would be a definite.
Well, after seeing the new sketch, I took the fountain. I took the fountain thing as a theme, more of a theme, not a theme. Maybe the Murdoch fountain in the middle is just a push to look at the Christian fountain and the Hogan's fountain more.
Yeah.
I wasn't very focused on Hogan's fountain too much in general, and the new sketch is very focused around that.
Yeah. And so, like, I don't know, George had some really interesting things where he was talking about, like, everything's up in the air, look up, this thing tells me elevation, things like that. Well, the only two things that are on the, aren't up, you've got the dog, like, and he's on the platform, but he's, like, part of him is over the bottom of the platform. You know what I mean? Like, his paws or whatever they are, like, are over the bottom of the platform. They break that plane of you know, the painting, and then you've got the benches and stuff, and so this all makes sense with some things. And then you've got the idea of like the history idea. You've got, and I don't know if this is the right, like I don't know which dog you'd want to line it up with. I don't know if you mirror it or not. It just fit a little bit better with this picture. This is the only picture I had, so it kind of like showed it that way as more of a, it was a little easier to here's another one. Let's see.
Because you would line it up because the person in the painting looks like the pan statue layout, so I would follow that direction of, you know, if you overlaid it, which way would that be pointing or whatever.
Yeah, and like with the little back foot that's kicked up, you know, kind of that kind of thing.
Because that would be your base. That would be your foothold.
Let me see if I can show this other one too. Let's see. So here's the one that we were also talking about. Was it Rich that said that this sketch had the Hogan on it, and the resolution is terrible, but if you notice the shading under the Hogan on what would be kind of like a, just under the Hogan, then it also mirrors kind of like those cutouts that stick out on the fountain.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
So that was kind of something interesting. Maybe the boon to the pavilion or something like that. Stop sharing that.
I don't know if in some talks with Kit to solidify that interview and whatnot, I mean, Kit mentioned to me that everyone has found what needs to be found in the painting, meaning everyone's picking it apart to a level that I don't think he built the painting. And I think the key in the bottom left is another thing that he was always like, why do people think these scratches are things, right? I don't know how true any of this is, but
yeah.
No, he did say, yeah, the
that.
key was like dust or
but this was in a conversation
That was even on the Calazars where
about
he
me
said
pushing if something was. So can you bring the painting up?
Yeah. Give me just a second. Go ahead with you.
On when you see the leash and the hand down, I can't unsee this now, but the hand to me is like a palm up. So I was asking him about that, and he's like, dude, you're going a little too far. So
too far into it. Let's see.
Yeah. So and then I was like, well, and and he somewhat made a reference to what we have is what we have, which is hard for me to believe because there's so much in there that people still keep finding. But I took it as at face value of what he said. But the hand, if you can you zoom or no?
No, it's on PowerPoint. So
the hand is holding the leash like this, but if you really look at it and take the dark space of the knuckles out of the way, it's really like you could interpret it as the hand being like up. Very similar to what I thought I could see in the new sketch. And that was important to me because I was hunting down something else. Well, not so much in the new sketch, but like hidden in space, right? Like people are seeing the face in the sketch. I don't know if you've seen people talk about this.
Yeah, I can see two faces.
Yeah.
With the mustache. So it's just, I don't know how much more from the painting we can gather more clues than we have. Not to say that we don't have clues that haven't been interpreted in a way that would break something open, right?
And something about the sketch, and George didn't say this about the sketch, but he said it about, but maybe he did. Evie, I don't know if you remember which one he was talking about. Was he talking about the sketch or the painting when he said elevated, or maybe both? And then, because even if you think about it, a bridge it's on the ground, obviously at its ends, but it bridges over the ground. And so that's even elevated if you're in the span of the bridge. And then you've got, of course, obviously the puppet. The hand is up, the clouds are elevated. You've got even the tree is on top of this this base. So we don't know. And it doesn't look to be alive. So we don't know if the tree's rooted, you know what I mean? Or is it just on this pedestal, kind of thing. But we have the cattails and they're alive probably, or you know what I mean? Like they're reaching down under the bridge and maybe that's the only thing that's in the ground is maybe the cattails. And I know I'm probably kind of reaching because I like the marsh idea, but I don't know. That's something.
No, yeah, it was when he was talking about the sketch. He was talking about everything being elevated for sure.
Yeah.
I remember that. Because there's arrows going up in it. I believe if you look at like what the hand is almost meant to like do like a yo-yo. I don't know if it's meant to do a yo-yo thing or just move it up in the drawing. I'm not sure, but there's definitely an arrow by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that the branches to the left, where it looks sort of like an E, if you like drew a line down the whole left side. Do you consider that would be like an E potentially, or?
I don't know.
I
They
think
are weird parallel branches, though, right?
Yeah, way too parallel, like not natural.
Yeah.
Because if that was an E, couldn't you think like the cattails would be, with the dark parts of the cattails is the Y?
Yeah.
Like
That'd be possibly.
Yandel.
Yeah, with the E in the painting and the Y, you know, the possible Y. Yeah, I think it could
Because
definitely.
in the trees of the current paint, it's hard to tell.
Hey, yeah, look at that.
There's an E and a Y, right, for Enid Yandel. Like, could it just be that he did that in the tree at the branches?
I don't know. That does seem weird, though.
And there, right? Like, it definitely seems to me like she is some part of this puzzle.
Yeah.
Well, she's the sculptor of the boon and the pan, right?
Right. Yeah, both of them.
Absolutely. But I'm saying, like, I think that without knowing the narrative or the theme of the actual puzzle, I feel like she is part of a clue or a clue.
Maybe she's some of the art history that we need to figure this thing out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, why would you mention that art history, right? It's strange. It's a weird thing.
It is.
Right? To say, like, it's sort of specific about. You would just say art, and you would say, like, I don't know.
Well, I think the fact that we all know that it's Enid Yandel is like, it speaks to, that's something that people would look up. You know, they're like, oh, this is the Pan Fountain. What do we have? Like, who, you know, like, they're going to look up everything about the Pan Fountain, right? And then, like, same with Daniel Boone. And then like, oh, check it out. This is the same person, you know? So.
Going back to the elevated thing, you even have, I mean, like, you've got the clouds, you've got the tree being above, the man is above, the key's above, even the cattails don't continue to the ground, they're attached to that bridge. But in the final painting, they're on a platform, the butterfly is up to free spin, you've got the hanging wheel, everything is up, even though the figure itself looks like she's looking down. And we wouldn't even talk about the depths of whatever's going on in the dog's eyes. But, you know, she could be stepping up or she's stepping down onto the platform. I mean, it is a general idea of that. And then also the ease on both of them. There is, if you look back at the historical maps before they added more streets going in, there are 3 streets that hit that line on the left side to the park exactly. So I mean, it's, even though the tree is sideways on the final one, it still kind of plays that, but it also curves up, unlike the sketch, which doesn't have like that curvy, bendy type branch to it.
Okay.
What is with all these like defoliated trees in these paintings? You know,
interesting.
I mean, maybe it's just so that we can see every line, maybe, and maybe it's just a practical thing, but it's weird.
I know, they all look like rivers and roads to me.
Yeah, I mean, you can hide a lot in the foliage, so it's not like they didn't do that in The Secret. I keep going back to Houston because
Houston, right?
But yeah, you could hide a lot in the foliage and stuff, so it's not necessarily just, I mean, you know, they have a choice, I guess. So it's just interesting.
And Cleveland's probably the closest one with branches and not much for foliage, right?
Yeah.
But that was a lot. That was like a lot of trees and branches.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Sasha asked, maybe there's a bench for Enid in the park.
I don't.
That is a really interesting idea.
I didn't see it. I have someone has a post of all the benches, unless there's a special one. Yeah, there's a post out there that has every. Well, of course, I asked for somebody to try to help me get these, because I mean, originally when you find the Emily, the Olivia connection right to the bench, like you want to know, okay, well maybe it has something to do with benches, and those are the marks you got to find. But I could never. I mean, I could not figure anything out with the benches as far as putting some coherent narrative together about where these things all would lead you to.
The Wheelmans. Somebody mentioned the Wheelmans bunch. That's the one that's in Iroquois Park that I liked way back when.
Is the Wheelman's bench like the carved stone one that she did too? Was that hers?
I don't know if she did it, but it's from back when everyone was riding their bikes way back in the olden days. And there's a fountain there for water.
Yeah, it's like a stone bench. I can't remember if she did that one or not, but yeah, I do recall seeing this bench. I can't remember where it is though.
One of my favorite things I saw.
It's not in Cherokee Park though, right?
No, definitely not in Cherokee. No. I feel like it's like more downtown.
I don't know, it'd be downtown. I know it's westish, south or west, just direct
more
west.
Southwest.
It's more. I think it's more towards the water edge.
Okay.
The west directions.
So I guess Ashley's saying it was checked. They checked some. So
I mean, from the sketch coming out, it's just interesting that Heigold is not. Jam was so adamant about people leaving Heigold too soon. I still think it's part of.
Because you're supposed to stay close to home.
Right. It's just,
I'm just like shameless plug.
He definitely wanted people to, examine that in a more extensive way. It's just odd that this sketch came out and now it's not even in it. But the verse could have been altered to fit the painting and the verse could have all been altered up to the point, right? So we don't know, because I know George worked on a very earlier verse, right? Like the sketches that we're looking at could have been more centered around that verse versus maybe the verse that is the one that we have now that maybe represents more Heigold. I don't know. Because if Heigold is a starting point and we take someone's word that it was somewhat confirmed that 60 and alt 60 is the twin, that gives you a starting point to Cherokee.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. Well, we know, like in the Calazar's interview, Kit said that he painted, it took about he said he estimated something like 26 hours to paint the painting. And he said it was like 2 marathon days. So it's not like he painted it over a couple of months. So again, we don't know. We don't know, was that right before it came out? Was it 2 months before it came out? Was it the day after it was buried? We don't know what 2 days, But building a puzzle, I think you can pick your spot and then try to figure out what's the best way to get there. And then you can come up with something totally new that is way better than anything you've thought of, or that is kind of, I guess you have to build a stair steps, right? On a puzzle, you have to get somebody from this spot to understand what you want them to do and where to go. So in one way, the sketch was so weird that it was so different. But then in another way, I think it was Rich Blanford that was saying, you can tell they were working through it. They were trying to come up with some ideas. And yeah. So we don't know. We don't know any solid anything other ting February 14th. This is your verse and your painting.
Right.
Trying to remember if there was a reason for that date or if it just
Well, they were going to do it in October. That's what's interesting to me. If you look back at Dustin, I believe, did a podcast with them and or afterward, and they determined that's when it was buried because of pictures that were posted on their socials or something. So that's very interesting that they were like in town that time. Who knows? But
October.
Oh God, someone mentioned a cough.
Hopefully I can get down to the park this spring. That's all I got to say.
Right?
That's my plan.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I got to drive from Minnesota, but I'm plotting another trip. The last 3 years I've driven from Minnesota down to Charleston and then up to Manteo and back across.
Nice.
Oh, it's been awesome. Like that whole East Coast and the Outer Banks is amazing. So yeah, I'm plotting another one, and Louisville will be a stop on the way for sure this time. I'll plan a little more time there.
Well, I mean, you've got a nice drive. Like you can hit a bunch of spots of they were found here, or we think.
Oh yeah, like, coming back, I've swung through Cleveland and Chicago and visited the two spots where they found them. The one summer I drove all the way up to New York too, and tooled around there a little bit in Brooklyn. But yeah, it's a haul, but it's fun.
Yeah,
that is fun. That sounds like Jimmy Leonard. He travels more than anyone I know. And he loves to go to the secret cities, and he's very prolific with probing and stuff like that. Yeah, that's why I think all of the benches have been probed to death in Cherokee.
Yeah, he's helped me a few times. He's awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome.
I just went to Charleston 3 weeks ago or so. It was awesome. I love it.
Oh man, that's too cool.
Well, I watch a lot of reality TV. There's a show called Southern Charm that's based in Charleston. And I did the whole secret, White Point Garden stuff.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was fun there.
Well, that's awesome. Uh-oh, the band hammer.
No, it's tomorrow's Thursday.
Oh,
out in a while, so it's just let's find these casks and finish it.
Yeah.
For me, so Monday when I have my surgery, I come home to somebody
good news.
I found it, and they better have a video. If there's no video, then I will be visiting with a hammer after I can drive again and stuff. But there will be no notification first. Just a warning. You guys have a couple days, and then I'm going to be waiting for entertainment.
And we need results, huh, Evie?
Otherwise, I'll be up the whole time going, hey, guess what? All these ideas, and it'll be drug-fueled ideas, worse than normal squirrels.
Yeah.
We don't want that. So, better than a cat coming in and knocking stuff over. Some comments we need to go back to.
I've been trying to keep up. It seems just comments.
The flooding from the High Gold House.
Yeah,
people left that area, and
the Lord of the Rings.
The sketch tree and the top from the anniversary are very similar to JJP's Lord of the Rings book cover. Yeah, it is. That face is.
Yeah, very true.
I like the face. I like the two comparisons. I can see where people get their talent from. It's not mine.
If the new sketch has this face in it that people see with the mustache, could the current painting have that? We're just not seeing it.
I mean, it's possible, but for 5 years, I don't know. It's hard to think that. Obviously there's something we haven't found. I don't know. Maybe it's something we haven't pieced together, but maybe.
Just interesting that who is that face if that's a face?
Yeah.
Looks a little like Mark Twain.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought with the little.
What else? Little
mustache.
Someone said Roosevelt.
Does that have a little beard? Could it be Colonel Sanders?
Sorry.
Could be.
I don't know. It's got a similar mustache.
With Kentucky,
No,
that would make sense.
Twain was the first thing I thought of too, though. Yeah. And then I see like a smaller face in that looks exactly like Olmsted, personally, like the famous Olmsted photo.
Oh, really?
I like that one too.
When you say Twain, it makes do I have the right author? Do I have the right author in my head? Tom Sawyer?
We talked about the Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, way to block the Lord of the I guess I should pick up the hammer.
We talked about the face. That's funny.
I did see I did mention that the Schmeagol, what was the name? Why does it sound familiar? And I'm like, sounds like my precious.
Oh yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me put that back up. I'm gonna leave the room for a second because I can't say anything about the anniversary. So if you guys have anything else you want to say.
Oh, I didn't think we were switching. We were just commenting.
No. I know. I was just saying I need to get something really quick anyway, so I was just making a joke, but on playing off of Ashley's comment about way to blow off that I mean they are very similar, and JJP did a lot of trees with faces.
There you go. There's the
Who was that? What is that?
It's just
I don't know much about the anniversary, but did somebody is the top thing still in play or no?
And she runs away.
Oh,
Way
she's
to
not allowed to
clear
answer.
room, Tom.
Okay. Sorry about that. I thought that was pretty benign comment.
The Muppet character running down the hallway. There goes Sunday.
Sunday's gone. Rings, though, one interesting thing I found going back to the tribute. Do you know one of the most famous painters in art history of the Valkyries is a guy associated with Wagner's The Rings, and his name is Emil. I can't remember his last name. I think it starts with a D. Him and his father did the original artwork for the original stuff that Wagner did, and actually did the costumes for Wagner when he originally put it on. Yeah, kind of an interesting little tie-in. I mean, most people think that Milwaukee with JM is in Lake Park and has a Wagner tie-in because the treasure in that was buried in a lake. Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Interesting. The Ride of the Valkyries that is in the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is tied to the.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there could be some interesting Hunter S. Thompson things tied in.
It's gotta be something. I mean,
But he's so.
He lived right by Cherokee Park. He's literally like 2 blocks from the park.
Comments and things about Cherokee Park. I don't have the exact quotes here, but he's definitely a longtime resident. Now, is that just enough to like get us there from the lore? Like, just throw that in because it's Louisville? Like, I don't know. It seems like there would be more. It's just interesting that they play that song in the movie.
Well, then they had all the Las Vegas books out, or the Las Vegas book out too, in their little staged photos.
Right, which is again very odd.
Mm-hmm.
If we thought that it was in Big Sur, then we could be like, oh, he compared it to Valhalla.
Yeah, I mean, Valhalla Golf Course is right near Louisville too. It's in Louisville. It's just farther away. So I always thought Valkyrie's window was somewhat related to that. It's just hard to like get there, right?
And the motorcycles, the Honda motorcycles.
What, you have the Sacred Heart Academy that's up on the hill above there? That is the Valkyries too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just right by the park, right? That they're what are those? What is that, mascot? I guess.
Yeah, I would be surprised if, in the end, that if he is not part of some sort of the solution, but it could just be a nod to Louisville. It just seems very odd to put that in the lore.
Oh, the
Hunter S. Thompson stuff. the biggest book in the library. It's just.
Well, it was all about west. It was about look west because alt 60 is west, right? You take alt 60 west, and remember, Tom, you were talking about what you had seen about 60 and alt 60 being the twin.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
along in that same conversation, it was west was to get people to go to Boone. So look west.
That whole thing is, this whole 60 alt 60s is just super weird to me because it's just seems too.
It seems like it would have been better for use for the loop, right?
It's too like.
Yeah.
It's a little bit obscure and it's a little bit okay. So now I get to that point, but there's nothing really there that pushes me the other way, other than it being a twin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why would I go that way from Heigl? Why wouldn't I go the other way? What makes
but one thing it does tell us is that he felt like he needed to tell us to go, like he needed to cover that space in between the two, in between the Heigold and Boone, right? Instead of him just giving us all these like image matches and stuff to Cherokee, he felt like he needed to tell us. I mean, I don't think it's in a great way, but like he needed to tell us, take this road that has two, 60 and alt 60, take the west and end up at Boone, the man of adventure. So that's at least something where we know that he is telling us step by step, or at least he's thinking step by step, I guess.
Maybe it's kind of like as the road curves that gets you from the terminal tower to the cultural garden sort of thing.
Yeah. I'd buy that.
Yeah, because I've never really found something super good, descriptive in the painting and the verse that really leads you from Heigold to the park. But yet every indicator that it's in that park is, there. Yeah. I've always thought that was odd.
And there's not even like a 60, Yeah.
Why
I think the closest thing I ever found was somewhere off of where you turn to go into the Boone. There's like an old firehouse. I think it's like an art store now. And up in the very top window, there's a number 7. Or it's not a window. It's like the little circle thing where they would usually put the number of the firehouse. There is one.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's off of where you turn to go to the Boone, but maybe where you turn to go into Willow Park.
Okay.
Which is a little bit farther down. There's there's a number 7 on what used to be an old firehouse. That's an art store. That's the closest thing I've ever been able to come up with. But yeah, never seems to be anything good to lead from one place to the other.
Yeah. And interestingly, go ahead.
I'll say, remember the art history thing or the history thing in general? Isn't the Heigold covered with historical
presidents and stuff or something?
Yeah.
And I think it has what Buchanan
or something. When the guy that built it, he carved this stuff in there because he wanted people to remember certain things.
Well, he wanted
I'm
to
stick to my emblem of B is Buchanan, and I'm not changing. I don't know how. JM's very The Secret oriented, so it's to say it's like a butterfly. I don't think he would do that. It's Lincoln. It's a name. Bernheim, I could get. I can get Bernheim. I can, when people throw that out there, and especially with the new painting, I get it. But my interpretation of Heigold is way more intense than it. To me, that's emblem of B. It may not be in the right orders. That's why the whole alt 60 thing is a little confusing to me. And now that Heigold's not in the painting, it's even worse. But I was taking Buchanan and Valkyrie. I was taking, there's a little head of a woman in the window above. And if you look at the old pictures, he used to put a portrait of Washington in that window. So all the old pictures have like this certain portrait of Washington in the window. So if let's just say that was the Valkyrie's window. So what is the width 7? There's 7 words above the the window that say hail to Buchanan now and forever with a space. There's 7 words above this window. So I always took that as emblem of B, it's down below, and then Valkyrie's window with 7, that's the window. Like, to me, that's all right there. And when JM says things like, don't, everyone's leaving Highgold so soon. So I'm always been working the puzzle part from that stance. And then if you use those verse lines and you use Buchanan and Washington, there is actually an intersection. Buchanan and Washington right there, right near there. I don't know how that all ties in potentially, but I took a map and I went from Highgold through the intersection and just drew the line, and it took me to Churchill Downs. Now, don't know what that means, but that's kind of where I stopped because I don't have anything at Churchill Downs that really ties into the verse.
Oh yeah, and then so Jace Thomas added this, and I remember reading that that the builder, I guess Highgold was the man who built the Highgold, right? And yeah, I remember reading this that he wanted to prove his allegiance to the U.S., so he made the decorations out on the front of the house very patriotic, right? So it kind of goes back also to when you're, I don't know, anything's possible, but when you build a puzzle, it's like you only have so much room, right? You only have so many things that you can fit into the puzzle, because every time you add a new something, then that's another tangent that people could, take off onto another thing. And I don't know, am I the only one that thinks that that kind of sees these puzzles kind of similar to like jigsaw puzzles? Does that make any sense to anybody else? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So like maybe the secret is like a 24-piece puzzle or something like that. You know what I mean? And as far as like the pieces that were given and then the pieces that we have to find in the real world. And so like ways that, like that idea that you were just talking about, Tom, like where you have the Highgold represented, you have a lot of Cherokee represented, then you have something like a detail on the Highgold, a couple of details, right, that are like that you can find reference to in the verse. And then what do you do with that? Like you take those and then you try to, like, do you try to extrapolate them? And then you're kind of like, well, if it's at the Highgold, then why do you, I'm not advocating for Cherokee or advocating out of Cherokee, or I'm not advocating anywhere, but it's like you kind of have to take it kind of like George said that one time, where it's like, where does everything kind of fit okay? You know what I mean? Like we're not looking, it's hard to, because there's a lot of really good fits that have nothing to do with Cherokee, or like really good fits that might not even be in Louisville. You know what I mean? And you're like, this is the best fit for this line. And, but it's kind of more like we're looking for kind of pretty good fits for everything or something. I don't know where I was going with that, but it's just kind of like.
I was just trying to take what it gave me, right? Like,
yeah.
Okay, there's Buchanan. It's an emblem of him. It's a B. Now, what do I do with that down below? Like, okay, maybe not like south or down below, but like actually like down below. There's the window. Like, and then, okay, so then I get all this, right? Now, what I trying to, like, JM tries to like take you to different places, but maybe it's not just like driving or walking. It's just like angles, right? Like, I don't know how his mind works, but what if he's pointing just to Churchill so that you're looking at Kentucky Derby winners? By the way, one of them is Buchanan as a horse, right? So like, okay, he's the 10th winner. I take the number 10. What do I do? Like, so it's like you can go down these rabbit holes, right, that are crazy, but.
Was he really the 10th winner? Were you?
Yeah.
No kidding.
There was a horse named Buchanan that won the Kentucky Derby.
And is he one of the ones that are buried or whatever you want to call it out in front?
No, that's Barbaro. He's
another bee. There we go.
There's a bee, and his statue actually looks a lot like the Houston Monument, where where they take the picture with they put themselves in front of the
one of the fake
Photoshop
pictures.
themselves in front of
isn't that like the Sam Houston?
Yes. But that horse monument looks very much like the Barbaro one. Now the Barbaro one has 2 circles 3, 2003. That's when Barbaro was born, the horse. So it's on the monument. But again, okay, great. Now what do we do with this? Right? Like, you can get to certain, I get to certain things, but they dead end pretty quick because I don't see anything in the verse about horses or using that as a key. I was trying to use it as a key, right? Like, okay, well, I found Buchanan. Is there another horse named Washington, right? That gave me another number that I could build a puzzle out of it, some kind of a.
But there was that little extra clue he gave, or whatever you want to put it, where he says, "Now begins the race."
He does say that.
Bicycle, horse, cross country.
If you look at the painting, where the foot is coming out of and sitting on what they say big rock.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it, you could look at that as it almost looks like a horse's head. Now some people think it's a horse's head drinking out of the Hogan fountain because that used to be like a horse fountain.
Yeah.
But if you look at it close, you could interpret it as a horse's head, and it's in the robe looks like a keyhole.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that, so I've seen posts where that could be the key. Maybe Hogan's is the key, or something with horses is the key. But that foot coming out of the robe is definitely in a weird position. If you look at it in certain angles, you could see what I'm talking about as far as it being that's a key in the keyhole, right? Are they trying to say that's the narrative? It's the narrative that we don't have. If you told me, hey, this is based around Kentucky Derby winners, right? I could now go try to find where is he trying to pull these from, and what does it actually do, right? But we don't have that. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, her ankle does remind her there's a gap in her foot, it comes down the ankle through the heel, and then it kind of goes up and over again to go down to where her toes would be. That kind of looks like it could be a horseshoe, or it actually kind of resembles the bench symbol. What's that?
I can't post pictures, right?
Yeah, you can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to share your screen.
Oh, that's different.
So along the bottom, it'll say present, and then you'll be able to choose. Do you want to just share a certain window or your whole screen?
Right,
Usually it's a window.
For the hell of it.
Huh?
I'll try.
Okay. And then if you have it downloaded as a PDF, you'll be able to share it just like slides. But you can't zoom, so that kind of sucks. But
yeah, I'm gonna step out for about 3 minutes and make a phone call, and then I'll be right back. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Yes. Did that share?
Yep. Here comes Rick coming up.
Oh, so I can't
there
zoom.
You go.
Okay, but
yeah, that is a really weird.
So you can see where I'm trying to see kind of like a seahorse, like a horse type thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then see this part? That's some people think that's drinking out of
for sure.
Fountain, like a Hogan's fountain or something.
I hadn't noticed. I noticed that was a really weird shadow. You can probably zoom your screen if you do Control Plus or something like that. It may, there you go. And then, but I had not. Yeah, totally.
And then if you look at I don't have it here, but in the robe, this black part, it looks like a key,
Yeah, Jimmy had that the other day.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, Let me stop sharing so you don't see all my other garbage in here. Did you guys ever see this? Now I'm going to go back to sharing.
Okay.
Pawn Stars.
That's funny.
Oh, this is annoying. It keeps asking me. Oh. This is in the ground by a big rock somewhere.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know what it actually is.
Yeah.
I mean, it matches.
It's definitely very interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know people have explored and.
I wonder if it's like a well cap or something like that.
It's some
maybe?
kind of cap for something or a marker, but it just matches very well to the axe handle.
Big round thing with a
sure
in the middle of the ground. Yeah, that definitely fits. Especially in the preliminary sketch where it's just in the middle of the tree.
I don't know if I have anything else worth. I mean, I have tons of notes. This is what I was mentioning before.
Oh, that's the picture.
That's Heigold's house during the day. So he used to always have this Washington picture in here, which I thought was kind of interesting. Seemed like a weird guy. Oh, I keep doing this, I know. Last time. When I was mentioning I know you might have seen this, but the baseball player, there's the legs.
Yeah.
The bat or the archer body. The body here. I don't know. When you turn things to the side, things become a little more apparent, I guess. I think there's definitely some turning of the painting that has to happen.
Well, yeah, I feel like you got the shadow that kind of runs the feet there. Almost looks like a damn arrow pointing right up to the gem, too.
Yep.
True.
It also kind of resembles how the figure's laid out. With the arm out, the foot down, the foot back.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Butterfly is either way, but
some other things I thought it maybe looked like a 4. You know, you have the big 4 bridge, and it does look similar to some of the wood structures in the wooden bridges in the park too. A few of them. Not all of them have rails that are set up like that, but some of them do.
That's true.
I wish you could find better pictures of some of those trails sometimes.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to what I think Jam said in the very beginning. He's like, he didn't want it to be solved by Google Maps. Like you had to be there. Yeah.
Fair enough on that one.
Yeah, it is funner, I guess. More of an adventure.
It's all about getting the boots on the ground. That's what Byron wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was did it work? This is what I was talking about before. This is what some people think emblem will be. These are the 7 words.
Ah, okay.
And there's what I think might be the Valkyrie right here.
Okay.
That is more elaborate than I was picturing.
It's kind of
creepy. There's a lot on there.
Yeah.
Oh, the front side of that wall was amazing. I can only imagine what it looked like back in the day.
Yeah.
Has anyone else looked around down by the water tower much? I've always wondered if that wasn't why, maybe one of the reasons they were originally drawn to the city is that is one of the first public water systems and one of the oldest, or if not the oldest water tower in the United States. And it has some really interesting carved figures on the top.
Yeah, it does. I don't remember the specifics, but I remember seeing a post of it once where that was probably the closest thing where I really looked at it and went, holy cow, that might be, and it's outside of Cherokee, but it was,
I know. I'd so wish there had been 7 figures up on top of that water tower, but I think there's more 10.
Right?
I think there's 10, I believe. I think there's 4 seasons and then 6 Greek gods, I want to say. But yeah, super cool water tower.
That is cool.
You can't really peruse that area too well without getting picked up by a popo.
I mean, there's a little park there, but yeah, there's not much else there other than the water tower.
And that would be a quick way to get in trouble. Some guy's looking at you and you're like, nice vest. You're like, thanks. No, what are you looking for? I'm just checking pipes.
Yeah, right.
But I'm supposed to be checking pipes. Did Bob tell you to do that? No, Larry.
Well, surely
told
there's
you to do
a fenced in
Run.
area that you stay outside of. So,
Oh, I think you're supposed to be over there and I'm here. Oh, okay. I already finished this part. Why you go look over there? Oh, you got that map. I forgot to bring the map with me.
I don't know. Apparently, we need pointers from Rich because he was really quick with a good story that got them out of a sticky situation once.
Oh.
I guess I've heard the story like secondhand. I wish I could remember the details to share, but
A couple times.
yeah,
Holes in the ground.
yeah, like off the cuff came up with like some kind of soil testing protocol to check for like concrete lime leaching into the something like that. Like you're like, wow, that's impressive. The best I could probably do is like, what are you doing here? I'm sorry.
Now I'm trying to find my key.
Yeah.
I told the guy in Milwaukee one time I was probing for a cat time capsule that we buried from high school.
Oh yeah. Oh, Milwaukee,
Mhm.
that's serious. Like they like
This was a private citizen who was concerned with what I was
Oh.
doing with my probing of the ground.
yeah. I've
But-
heard that in Milwaukee, then in Lake Park especially, they do not play around. Like they're quick to respond. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been brave enough to try digging there at all, but yeah, I've heard similar things.
Oh, this is cool. So this is from Jace Thomas as well, and it's he says, if I recall a stream where JM said he knew a method that every secret verse has a line that's referring to something specifically painted. I think he probably did this in the tribute as well. And there's a sideways 7 in the big rock boot, for example. So yeah, that's Jace. I need to invite you to one of our like small groups about like the secret paintings and stuff. If you're into the secret too, because we did like I'm really visual, so we had like a painting group. No one ever posts in it anymore, but it has some pretty cool stuff in it. But it was kind of along these lines where painting specific lines, can be really huge. So
I don't understand. What does that mean?
what do you? Oh, like okay, like at the painting specific line part. Is that what? Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So like think about like Boston, and Boston said, "Feel at home." And for the longest, they didn't really take that as the dig line. But then if you look at the painting, then she's holding or feeling, with your hand, a box that has a castle or home on it. And then the shape of the box is it's got the glow coming out of the one side. So it's not a pentagon like a home plate, but it's like an incomplete home plate, where it's got like the 4 sides and then it has the one side coming up and then you've got the glow on the other side. But so there's some theories that like that is a specific line that references the painting that's very important, that if you figure that line out, then it can really kind of unlock the mechanism of the puzzle. Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you use the verse in Boston to get to the baseball field, then it would say feel at home and you would know. Like you don't need the painting, right?
Well, yeah, okay, so it's pretty interesting because like JJP said, they're kind of like on a continuum or a spectrum. Like some of the paintings are really clue heavy. Like they have all the like a whole lot of the important information, and the verses are kind of like vague, and you're like, what the hell is it supposed to be? And then some of the verses are like super high value clues, and the paintings are like it's really soft, fuzzy feeling. You're like, I think this is this, but I'm not sure. And they all kind of like go along that spectrum. But I think the idea was that there's one line that they work together. And if you can figure out that line, like, for example, if you didn't know that you were looking for a ball field, yet you looked and you figured out, feel at home, what is the action that she's doing with her hands? She's feeling an object. She's like holding, it's kind of fuzzy logic, but she's feeling an object. She's holding an object. And then it has a home on it. And then you're like, okay, maybe it's calling attention to her hands. And then what's like right next to her hand, you've got the two shapes. You've got the home plate shape on her wrist, and you've got the home plate shape repetitively in her hand. If you take the box to be, the home plate, and you've got the home plate shape, the foot off home, it's like, so maybe it's kind of pulling, it's just saying, hey, something really important. Like right here.
None of them did that.
No one did. No one did.
Even after they knew where they dug it up, they were all shocked when JPP pointed that out, right? Like, for us to find something like that beforehand.
But that was the intended method of the puzzle, though, right? If JJP is saying it, then that's the stair step that you're supposed to take with the puzzle, the clues that you're supposed to follow with the puzzle. And there's a lot, like, I agree with Jace. I think they all have a specific line or lines, whatever, that call out something in the painting that's super, like, I think they're all riddled a little differently, like the iacles, that JJP was talking about. And so, but yeah, I agree. I think they all have that one line. I'm trying to think of another one. I'd have to look. It's been a long time since I've looked at The Secret because I've been in the anniversary.
I'm sure after the fact we will see things in the painting that.
Oh yeah, it'll be exciting.
I'll show the spot.
Yeah.
You could look at the woman's back or person's back, and
like, speaking of that shape, the arch of her back. You guys see that in the tree on the sketch too, and then even that little bit on the end of, like, let's call it the dingle. I feel like almost the top of the key that's hanging to the left in the sketch almost looks like that little half arch thing.
Sure.
Like, yeah, that shape with that long protrusion. Like, I don't know what that is, but it's something. Yeah.
Yeah, but like with the stuff, the verse, Milwaukee verse has the 92 steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yep.
Because we know that they put stuff in the pictures backwards, forwards, who knows what. You've got 29 in the upper corner of the New Orleans picture.
Yeah.
So it's not like always, not everything's going to be obvious, or maybe it is, and we're just all screwed up and looking way off track. But that's, a thing where it's like, well, it fits better here, but it's in the painting, but it fits better over here.
All right. And, at this point, we're just assuming they're all getting tougher, too, and clues are going to be more buried and not direct. Yeah.
It's interesting in both of the sketch and the painting that 71 is in both pretty prominently, no?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it just referring to the route?
What is 71?
It's
there's a road.
Highway, right?
It's a highway, but I mean, everyone assumes that's what it is, but.
Could be 17. What if we're going with the backwards thing?
Could be.
Like with Cleveland. The numbers, but it's in there twice.
It's in both.
It is.
And it's clear. It's not like very hidden.
Mm-hmm.
So even her foot angle looks like a 7, and there's probably a 1 there, somewhere by the rock. For all we know.
Okay, so I'm a little ashamed of myself, but because Jace brought up like one of my favorite topics ever, with the secret. I want to share just another like really quick example of that whole idea of like the illustrated verse line. So if you'll look up in this corner where the L in the curve is, so I think this is kind of an example for that. And it's as the road curves. And then so you have the curve and the Liberty Street, right? Or Liberty Boulevard illustrated in the painting. So if you figure out that part as the road curves, and then you look in the painting, and I know there's a lot of curves, obviously, especially up at the top of this wall. But if you look down and then you notice, hey, this is curved, and it has L Bell, and you're like, oh, Liberty Boulevard, so then that could be like a big clue. If you've already followed all the other clues, you've got Ohio, you've got the Terminal Tower, you've got, like they all kind of stack on top of each other. But that was just kind of another example of that idea of a verse line that speaks directly to the painting and gives you some important piece of information.
Yeah, I think Cleveland and Chicago do that very well, which is probably why they were two of the first couple solved, and maybe why they are the paired ones too. But yeah, I feel like it starts to deviate from that a little bit once you go beyond those two. Not that the clues don't show up in the verses though, for sure. Like I think they still do. But yeah, it seems like things get more complicated after those two.
Yeah, for sure. We should do a stream on that because that's one of my favorite ones, favorite topics.
Yeah, I like how to tie. Like, I feel like there's an order that they were meant to be solved, and like I feel like they've alluded to that, right? Like at least JJP has. Like he expected Cleveland to be solved first, he said, but he alluded to the fact that they've been kind of solved in the order they thought, and Roanoke is kind of supposed to be next. And funny enough, like, oh, it's got a window just like Boston, and then it's after Boston. Yeah. Like, yeah, where are the tie-ins that like lead you there? Where are they?
Oh, okay. I have an idea. I don't know if it's good, but I have an idea on this. And if you think about kind of like the idea of bookends, this kind of goes back to that idea that we were talking about, like historical bookends in Cherokee Park, where if you think about like bookends, you think Roanoke is where the English colonization began. And then Paul Revere, the call to arms, is where like the first steps to it ending, kind of thing. Yeah. So I have a theory in Roanoke, and I don't want it to be in a ball field. I don't want it to be in the ball field, but it is. And but it's at the pitcher's mound, and I just can't not be. I don't want to be in the ball field, period. And I don't necessarily want to be at the pitcher's mound, but I just can't not, like, that's where it takes me. And so it's kind of like that, also that interesting juxtaposition where it's like the pitch started in Roanoke, and then, like the home run, like home, we defended our homes. We won independence, for homes. We started at, like, I don't know, just kind of some fuzzy logics, the symbolism stuff, ends in Boston. So I don't know, but
Corey's our fuzzy logic guy.
Maybe symbolism is the better
symbolism
term for that. Yeah. But
the ball field, I still can't get away from like the Fort Raleigh area.
Yeah.
Could you imagine trying to dig up something that was hidden under the pitcher's mound somewhere?
That would be an interesting follow-up to the home plate in Boston, though, for sure.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Oof.
It just shows these could be buried anywhere.
I know.
We didn't care where he's burying him.
Very subtle hiding method. We're going to put it here.
Here you go.
Yeah, too bad Gift Giver couldn't have narrowed down more than just a county on that one.
That would have been great. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've been all over. Like I don't know. Like I had a theory at the Wright brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had a theory, at everybody likes the end of the trail, like that bench, that lonely bench, the end of the trail, or the overlook bench, or
and the Harriet Trail,
yeah, or the gate, the water gate, those kind of things, and they all make damn good sense, so and it's just hard. It's like, how do you break the tie,
right?
And
would Byron have buried it somewhere historical? Where would he want you digging there? Like, that's the one I struggle with, like with Fort Raleigh. Yeah, like all the clues seem to like lead me there, but like at the same time, although I don't know, I won't rule out some spots inside the theater, if I'm being honest with you, though. Yeah, that is a spot where there's zero historical anything, where you wouldn't mess anything up if you did probe or dig. Like, that's the one spot I can't quite get away from yet.
Yeah, makes sense. I could see it because it's what is it like at the trail that leads, and then you're like, okay, the first stop on that trail is the theater, and then it goes on down to the Harriet Trail or whatnot. But yeah, I couldn't rule it out either. I mean, I don't think he would bury it anywhere historical or whatever, but then I think it's in the Fountain of Youth.
I know that's another tough one.
That was not in an archaeological area. Like, it was right behind the fence that was fenced off, like for the archaeological area was over there, and then they just cut off the whole path. But,
and the Fountain of Youth does have some areas up front around the parking lot that you could get in and access where you don't actually enter, like, the archaeological part of the park. Like, to me, that's, if it is there, that's where it kind of has to be too, if it's there.
Yeah.
I think, didn't they GPR that place to death? I mean,
a good chunk of it. Chunk of it, yeah.
Yeah. The same areas kind of over and over, or, that kind of thing. Or every tree. Or whatever.
Well, burying it at the base of a tree in general it's
crazy. Yeah.
That's not gonna go well.
Yeah.
It's not crazy if you thought it was just going to be solved in like a couple months, right? Like
Which, I mean, he was plotting the next book already, right? I mean, I think he thought it was going to go relatively quick.
Potentially. I mean,
yeah.
To say these things are
big hopes, high hopes for it. You don't put 2 years into and hire all these people and do all these things, for not having big hopes or hope that it will take off.
I'm sure he wanted these to be found, and then everybody gets, announced, and we move on to, book
number ahead 2. Of his time, I think,
Yeah.
Because it's not like anyone knew that Chicago was found back in the day, contemporarily, like when it was going on. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's funny to read about that, like when the Cleveland guys talking about it, like, we didn't even know if like the Chicago thing was real.
Yes. Yep.
I hope the tribute is an actual tribute, and it does push things from the book, or the solve is parts of the book, or referencing back to the book, or something like that. I think that would be cool.
Well, I mean, let's look at the 71 just for fun. Wow, I wasn't trying to rhyme anything. Just well, page 71 is the Screaming Mimi, which I know people have brought up something about recently. Like literally the picture. Screaming Mimi.
Oh, it's right on the picture?
Yeah, it's this side.
Now, some of those are numbered, right? Like, what numbers is 71? I have the electronic.
You probably have that better, much more documented than me.
Do we know if because you're either like a back of the booker or you're not. So do we know if JM was?
Well, I mean, he did that whole Demon interview. So
but that was also, he had Jalen, and then anybody that gets the chance to have like any kind of like to see one or to hold one or to telling
Right.
you, talking, you know, like that's cool. Like that's anybody, you know, like anybody would take that. But like, does anybody know if he likes the back of the book? Like if he thought the back of the book was.
I don't
try to
think he
back
spent a lot of time on it.
Right. I try to think back to listening through like all the old podcasts, and I don't feel like he was one who like shut down ideas from the back of the book, but I feel like he was one who always felt like everything you needed was still in the front. But I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
Page 17 is a little bit more interesting.
17?
Page 17, because it specifically mentions from Hellas itself, and goes into by the final act of their dying patron, Pan, and it has the butterfly at the bottom of the page.
Oh, it does. And Pan.
Yeah.
That it does.
And no sooner had the 12 established themselves in the New World that they were joined there by a 13th.
So I've magically received the answer to that question from the universe.
Which question?
If JM liked the back of the book. And JM absolutely did not think anything was in the back of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like page 17?
Thank you, universe. That answer so timely and
I think George, who was friends with him, said that.
But I like that page 17 idea. I like the pan. I like hiding in the marsh. I like the idea of the.
I mean, I could count through and see what word 71 is. 17.
We could. I don't know. I like the idea of using the book, but just using like we know there's history. What history? The history in the book. What's the history in the book in a nutshell? You know, that kind of thing. But
the puzzle was
the methods, right?
Let's say like potentially. I mean, again, they reference this national treasure in Indiana Jones way too much, right? So in National Treasure, they use a book cipher to get clues. Like it's possible. I just don't know how to derive the numbers that would
right, exactly
those words or letters or anything. But I mean, that's a direct reference to the book if you could do it.
Yeah. I feel like if you're like, it kind of goes all back to puzzles, right? Like if it's going to be a book cipher, then you have to, like you just said, like you need those numbers. You need a system to get those numbers. You know what I mean? Like you need to be supplied that kind of thing. Let's see.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. By. It doesn't do much.
I don't know what Facebook user said that. Let's see.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, that was Jace again. So, hey, Jace. Very nice. Okay, let's see. What else were we going to say?
Next, Cleveland.
I like what he's saying, but it would be a nod to every. We would need a nod to all of them. No?
Yep.
Well,
but there's been that post.
There's images, ties, and there's stuff in the verse. Like, it doesn't have to be exact.
Yeah.
It could be just a little thing.
I don't know. I always thought like I thought the clues would be 12. Like we would gather up these things and assemble. I mean, that's what we're on, right? It's about the assembly comments, right? Yep. Like, but assemble how many things, right? Like, the secret's about, the 12 verses, the 12 paintings. Could it be like something from each verse that you put together? Imagine if it was like you took a word out of each verse and that told you like you took the word go, like go to the, and it, right? I mean,
that's a really good method. If only someone could have used that method. Sorry.
Oh, would you play sounds like?
What?
Well, I mean, there's.
You lost me.
Got,
But think how hard that would be to do for all 12, though. That would be really, really hard to do for all.
It would take a lot of time from somebody.
It would take a lot of time. And plus, try to think of like finding a spot that would take all 12. Like that would be really super hard.
Not impossible.
And from all 12, you have to just kind of guess if you're right or not. You have to theorize. But from the solved ones, that'd be a pretty good puzzle.
And it was pre-Boston, so we don't have to think about it.
Plus, nobody understands how Boston worked anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some holes. Some just like, well, we think maybe.
Yeah.
But isn't it pretty interesting, like how everybody sees everything so differently? Like, how in the hell does anyone ever make a puzzle that's solved? You know, like,
oh, too many connections.
Yeah.
You guys are screwed if I ever make one. Maybe just like a giant metallic.
I will not let you make one. If either one of us ever says to the other one, "Hey, let's make a hunt," the other one has to put the kibosh on that.
5 acres we can hide it on, and lots of trees. Got the 5 acres and the trees right out my door.
Yeah,
guarded by turkeys.
Oh, so you want 12,000 crazy people in your yard?
Don't ever go barefoot. You don't want to step in.
That's too funny.
But I thought we did this with the tribute painting to find something from each other.
Yeah, there's been posts about that.
Yeah, because like her dress matches New York.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've got keys and bells dangling. Boy, that sounds good. Trees. There's trees in a lot of them.
I mean, you got a big pedestal, kind of like Cleveland.
Yeah. The dog cow moo thing could be the lion. The big lion head.
Yeah. Yeah, the things on strings like the Roanoke. I mean, there's some really good posts about it. Like, I can't think of any of them right now, but
No, I remember seeing a really good one recently that somebody talked about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the Christmas podcast, Kit even talks about incorporating all 12 paintings into the painting. He doesn't say how he does it, but he says that he did it.
Yeah.
And he posted the painting, getting to use the originals as a reference, and he had supposedly.
Yeah, right.
Supposedly some magical floating woman in white.
Yeah.
With lots of dots, lots of polka dots. I'm surprised there's not more. You know what? There's was that fishy section of the Heigl building.
All right, y'all.
Oh, and my phone died.
I think I got to go.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you guys. I learned a lot. I love to hear everyone's theories about how they interpret things and how you could fit them into, potentially what you were working on or trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Well, we're all rusty.
It is fun.
I mean, it's been a while.
It's
it's
been a lot. It's good to take like a good long, break from some of these, for me, like 2-3 year ones. I wasn't from the beginning.
I can't turn my brain off.
You missed the excitement. We were all like waiting for it to come out, and then somebody deciphered the lore, while the rest of us just went, "Ow!"
Yeah, that was crazy hard. Crazy hard. Yeah.
People are still confused about this whole prelude being part of it or not. I know people say it's not, but
yeah, I think it was just an exciting way to launch. Like they came up with, they thought it was an exciting way to launch it. We launched a puzzle with a puzzle to get people talking about the puzzle. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just the wording of the prelude, I guess, is what I'm talking about.
Oh, wasn't that like clues to the way to like the two eyes or
see if I have it.
Like the in grayscale or gray something?
Yeah, I think those were just the clues of how to break the code.
No, but I don't think they wrote that. That was put together by someone else.
Yeah, I know. I just wonder if they had knowledge.
Well, I would hope so.
No, like knowledge of.
That might be the person that
Oh no, they all say like they've said
or
it's
when
totally
the thing
separate.
is found.
Yeah.
Like JM said, "Hey, just encrypt this text for me," and then they wrote the puzzle to encrypt the text, and then wrote the clues of how to break the encryption, which was the prelude, and then just as a exciting, like a promo, like a like exciting way to kind of launch a puzzle to create buzz, I guess you could say.
It just had lines in it like Brash Falls and things like that. Just was interesting.
Like what?
Brash Falls.
Mm.
I don't have it in front of me.
It's been so long.
I'm shocked I don't have it.
Wasn't that like at Bash? Because at Bash was one of the methods,
yeah.
like one of the ciphers that you had to run it through.
It was that, and I think it did have a revolving Caesar
And then
thing of pain.
Yeah.
That's when you get like.
I thought it was just every letter was 5 letters off or something. No.
Oh no, it was like you had to run it through two different things, 2 different kinds of ciphers, like what I'm forgetting what they're called, but it's like the ARCII and the at Bash or something like that.
It was not a normal person brain that.
No, that's.
And then there was the other one that just that little one he did, where it was you used every 13th letter or something. That was just that little.
Yeah, no, I was referring to the prelude, but
yeah, that's just
anyway. That's been.
I don't know.
It's been said that that's not part of it.
Yeah.
The prelude in the note. I think I'm catching up. My phone died on me there.
The prelude.
Oh yeah.
The prelude.
Yeah.
Is really what we're.
The actual text of the prelude.
Some of the wording is just interesting because it's very related to the verse in some way.
If you look up the whoever was that broke that thing, God bless them, and they posted it. But then if you read the solution to how it was ciphered, and then you're like, oh, okay. So this is supposed to tell you run it through this cipher, then run it through this other cipher. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of amazed at how quick somebody pulled that one off because I was like,
yeah.
What is this?
That's above, yeah, that's above and beyond my head. Like I would run it through one and be like, oh, that didn't work. So
well, there's something like the gray and the tears. It was like, I don't know if there was a code word or whatever you want to call it. When you've got the cipher and you've got the word that's, I can't think what it's called, but it was a gray light.
Oh, the key. Yeah.
The key. Wow. That should not have been hard for me to come up with. Oh, it's gonna be great on Monday afterwards. I should join in. Might not display my face at the time because it's gonna be on but it's probably gonna be funny, or I'll be crying because the meds won't work. But anyway, but I thought there was something with the whole gray light. There's again not heavy. None of us have it in front of us, but there's something like gray was part of the key or light.
That sounds right.
Maybe there's a cipher with gray. There was something that kicked it off to that person that solved it, if I remember correctly. But I won't bet money.
Oh, here goes Tom.
This is it.
See?
Yeah.
Oh, the black and the white color light in between, so it'd be gray. So something with gray was a key.
Was there acrostics in the prelude? Because it says next acrostics.
That was a hint. The color light with the in between thing, the black, white, that was supposed to be gray.
Yeah, it's been too long for me to remember how exactly this worked.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm confused. So you're telling me this thing was solved. It was more than just a letter, like a Caesar cipher.
Correct.
Oh God, yeah. It was like 2 different ciphers.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And part of it has to do with acrostics.
I don't remember.
Because
you'd have to look it up, but it's like a couple different.
Because if it's not, that's like specifically telling us to like look for one in the verse, though.
Well, it was like that whole in between the color light. So the first 4 lines, that's supposed to lead you to gray. we don't know if that's GREY or AY. And then it was realize a task to mask, middle of the mix.
Well, I do know the person that ended up creating this on the left to encode what JM wrote, which is on the right. They ended up working the puzzle just right along everybody at the beginning. So they didn't, they ended up, so they didn't really have any pre-knowledge.
Gotcha.
They weren't working on the tribute. They weren't a designer or anything like that of the tribute puzzle.
Yeah, it's really good at ciphers, apparently.
Yeah, right.
There's really good people with ciphers in the community, and I just,
Yeah.
when George said there wasn't a cipher, I was like,
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Right. Yeah.
that was just like, no. And then
There
is one.
Yeah. Wordplay is
Thing.
difficult enough.
Right. I know. Amen. Right. Because if there is a cipher in the verse, then it's going to be like one of those things, like they say about the secret, not, I mean, in the tribute verse or whatever. Then it's going to be like the acrostic. Like if you figured out what Soloi meant, then that was a really big high value clue for you, right? Same thing like with the literary quotes. If you figured that out, it's a very high value clue. So like if there is a cipher in any of the verses, then that's very high value. So you might not ever figure it out if you don't figure out the cipher, or at least it'll be a lot harder.
I hate that JJC has alluded to such a thing in the original Hunt. Like his little comment about taking like the third letter of every fourth word or whatever he said in that one interview.
Yeah.
Same. If Gray kicks in for both, some big secrets coming too. What if you just have to look at the stuff that's gray in the painting? Just the gray stuff.
Huh?
Which would basically be the pedestal.
Fair enough.
Pedestal that acts in the wheel.
Yeah.
Would be the gray.
The pedestal, the dog.
Maybe the boot. I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at every dot. That would be very evil.
All right, y'all. I really am leaving this time.
Okay. Bye, Tom. I'm going to kick you out.
Bye.
Bye.
Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks for coming on.
Bye.
Hey, I remembered some stuff about that, how it was solved. That was, I have random facts in my head.
I have vague files in there. I used to be really good at that, but I'm no longer. But
you dive down enough rabbit holes and it gets tough to remember stuff.
It all gets. I have friends that keep really good notes on stuff and where they found it, when they found it, when it was there, when it wasn't there. And when I started, I was like, was it there at this time frame? And that's a yes or no. And that's all I ever remembered. And so, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's how you have to start, because otherwise you end up finding a lot of cool stuff and you realize, oh, that just got put in 10 years ago.
Yeah, right.
What's funny is that because I picked my son up from college today for winter break, Christmas break, and I always giggle every time I drive past this one place because it's called the Rabbit Hole. One day, if I'm not the one driving, I will get a picture of it, but it's a storage location.
Oh,
But it's called the Rabbit Hole, and I'm just like, every time it's just like, blinders, don't look. It's just
hold on just a second.
oh my scroll.
It's all the street names. Everywhere I drive, I see street names from all 14 hunts everywhere.
Oh.
It's just like, oh, Locust here, Freedom there, Euclid here, like
Lincoln.
It's ridiculous.
That
and
churches with rose windows and lion statues. Those are very
lion.
They're only a couple places.
Yeah, the lion statues.
Yeah, when you first start, it's I found it. And you look and just look across the street. You'll see more of that stuff. Yeah, that does work.
Yeah. Like I've debated on doing like the town I live in is like 40,000 people in like southern Minnesota, just going around and finding like, could I convince somebody that one of the puzzles was here based off of the things that I could just drive around and find in like my town? Like, I feel like I could.
Yeah. The coincidences are just mind-boggling. Yeah, that's what makes it crazy.
Yeah.
Heck, I've got 2 paintings from The Secret that make like hands are really important, or there's a hand shape in the sandy thing.
Well, Masquerade was like a big thing, and hands were very important in that. Like, I wonder about hands. There's so many weird hands in The Secret.
Sounds so bad. Sorry, I have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old boy.
Well, we'd get along then.
Yeah. Since you mentioned Masquerade, maybe we should look. And I probably did at some point. But we have the sketch and the painting now. With how Masquerade, like the key part of the Masquerade was the one page. I can't grab my book right now because I actually put it in the bookshelf. But there's one thing that was like a huge key to solving it is when he has the puppets. And I'm closing my eyes because I am thinking. And to pick the letter you're supposed to use from around
the border
that page, you're supposed to take the eye and you're supposed to follow it and draw a line through the longest digit of the hand or foot. Now, mind you, you've got stuff that's like very similar. I don't know how you should do it, but and that's how maybe we should look at the two, the sketch and the final painting with some weird, crazy ass.
Let's see. I'm going to try again sharing my screen. Hold on, let me try it again.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get it to load this time.
Because you've got the tree branches that are kind of like fingers, or at least on the final.
I feel like almost like both the sketch and the painting take you from, it looks different on my screen, from like kind of like the upper right quadrant, looking down and then back up, like the tree. Like the tree kind of follows like the arrow on the wall, and she's kind of looking, they both kind of do follow a similar like path if you're like kind of following something like that. The finger and the hand points kind of lower left, like she's kind of looking.
With her arm going down, and the cattails.
Yeah, they're pointed that direction. Yeah, and then
I'm trying to squint at my screen, and it's just not helping. Well, and then the left side of the high gold is the half arrow pointing up.
And then the tree in the sketch kind of seems to draw you back up.
And those are all things that they study in composition, right? In art, like in art classes, like they study like how to get people's eye to go where you want it, how to create dynamic like movement in your work, and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's definitely within the realm of.
I mean, when Kid has mentioned art history, as he also mentioned, like that, I feel like he said something along those lines too, where it's not just history, but I don't remember the word you just used. To describe
composition?
Composition, yeah.
Assemble is like how you compose.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a rule of threes for art?
The 3 thing would be interesting.
Don't ask me about that. There's something.
If I make weird faces, I'm just trying to figure out how to get these. It's my thinking face.
I'm laughing because my cats are
weird faces as I wear my stormtrooper hat because I'm in my squirrel costume as a blanket.
Nice.
I'm normal. Normal. And that 7 shape that's kind of in the concept thing.
Yeah.
The branch that you go up and then it goes towards the clouds. That one. It's the fatter one. It has that 7 that almost how it's kind of like that half arrow. Okay, obviously I'm obsessed with the half arrow and the high gold left side. I'm just gonna say it and get it out there because obviously I have issues. I have issues and no artistic talent. So I can make a stupid costume.
You're so funny.
You know what it is? It's all chemicals I failed making that predator costume for Hunter when he was younger. Those dreads are not. You should really wear a respirator when working with certain chemicals. And I didn't. But I can build a paint booth in your garage real fast. And the key on is. Are you going to share your slide?
Yep, I'm working on it. There we go. I think I've almost got it. There we go.
I should have just had like this the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't just do the upload or whatever?
The what?
You know I can't be specific. I've done this twice.
I mean, that arrow from the dog is pointing right at the gem, right? I mean...
Yeah, it's like...
I know.
So if we look at that, the finger... I think it's a very similar layout. Like I said last night, how you've got in the sketch, you've got the Bernheim block, I don't know what the hell to call it, the base, and then the tree comes up from that. And that base could be the same thing as what she is standing on with the dog. It's a large scale. And that E is the same between the trees.
It can't, yeah, it's very, very similar, right?
Other branches are similar. But I mean, I can tie things down. That's my problem. I mean, it is curious why in the sketch, and maybe he just didn't want to do it, how the main piece has the emblem, but then the other ones are more just like a regular gate at the same time. But you do have a definite number of splits, though. You've got 3 splits coming off of it.
Yeah.
So but the key hanging off of his wrist has a very round connection. But the one hanging off the tree looks like it's more wiggly. But that's if this is even just one, if this is an original concept for the whole thing, or if it's that left side is separate from the right with the hand and the puppet. Thoughts on why a finger is missing on the lady's right hand?
I cannot zoom. I can see if I have one that's closer in.
I can imitate. If I was going to, I think it's positioning. I don't know if you can see.
I thought I have one. Whoops. With the figures. Oh, that's closer.
What is up in the tree at the top?
Okay, I see what they mean. Well, it looks like three digits.
Yeah, because when you hold it, I'm trying to think of it. I mean, it's. Of course, this is my bad broken hand, so I can't. I mean, it's tight together. I don't know if I can zoom in on my own page just to look.
I don't know if I can control. Let's see. Nope.
I mean, she could be missing a finger, or you could just be seeing the tip of the pinky.
Ta-da.
And then the 3. Like when you punch, you tuck and roll. You kind of can't see the pinky as much. I'm trying to figure out how to position my hand.
Whoa.
Can you tell I am not the model for this picture? And it has been mentioned in a while, but the whole thing with the one part looks like a lug nut.
A lug nut.
Or the thing you use to take lug
The
nuts
wheels
off. in the final painting, the axe head part, the one that comes out the top, almost has a hollow appearance to it.
Hmm.
And I can't think of what it's called. Lug nut remover. I don't know.
Tire iron.
There you. Thank you. Which goes funny when we have a tire or wheel dangling in the other. It is. It's the Valkyrie. It's a motorcycle. You're gonna change a tire on the side of the road for some lady in a towel with her dog. Or your dog's be sitting there like, why are we stopping for a stranger?
Well, ladies, I think this is where I need to bow out for the night.
Oh,
This
okay.
has been super fun though, and if you ever want me on again, I am more than happy to come on and chat. It is so fun to do some of this live and in person, and not just via messages that you have to wait Lord only knows how long for, like on Facebook. Yeah, and any of the secret topics, I am always game for.
Okay, fantastic. Well, you're always welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
Bye.
Right. You ladies have a good night.
Thank you too.
I feel like
I guess we should go to Evie. We've done for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Well, there's I got stuff overlaid so I can see. Jace also said that I think it's intentionally missing and you have to find it elsewhere in the painting. Points her finger.
Ah, okay. Maybe so. Let's see. So I was going to show this earlier when we were talking about it, but it was the whole like out of Dingle idea.
Mm-hmm.
So in the book, the fair folk leave Dingle and then they come to the shores of North America, and then they live harmoniously with the Native Americans until the Europeans arrive, right? And then they have to go into hiding. And so maybe, I don't know, that was just kind of like, that's not really super impressive. It's just like the arrows and stuff, but it was just kind of a train of thought, I guess. But
not to be difficult, but why would they be coming in from Dingle and maybe not, and not just from the eastern way? Because there's roads from the east. Like you got the main one, whatever. I don't know what highway.
I don't know. I mean, other than like it says in the book that one of the fair folk came across Dingle and came to North America. I mean, I don't know. I just, that Dingle, I love.
It's just a great.
Get it out of my mind because it's like, I don't know. And it's not like their name. It's not even Dingle as a name of anyone, but it's just like it's weird that it's in the book and it means, valley or whatever. But
so maybe there is a tie between Valkyrie and Dingle.
There is. I just showed. No, I'm just kidding.
No. I mean, like,
yeah. No, really though. I was thinking that too because, like, it does. It's like the not this, but let me go back up to the verse. But it's like in the verse when it's naming, it's listing, right? It's like in the marsh, right? So it could just be like in the marsh. So that's the pan sculpture. Hillside. That could be the Christensen and Valley Deep. And we've got like 2 Valley Deeps. We could use the Bernheim easily for the Valley Deep and just ignore Dingle altogether. Or you could use Dingle because it means valley, or you could use both, being like the south is the valley because they're kind of in a line with each other. And then you've got Viva, so long live the fair folk. And so it's kind of like a list, but yeah, it definitely could, like Dingle and Hillside or Valkyrie could be linked because they're right next to each other in the book. It says Ruddy Alf came from Scandia. He was the first one. Or if you hear Brendan tell it, then he was the first one that crossed Dingle and came across to the to the northern shores, or like to the coast of North America. So yeah, definitely, I think link.
I mean, because even if you take it kind of literally, if you're looking at the map and you look at Big Rock, we'll say, as the marsh, just if you look at something along the waterway that goes through there, it, like markers on the map. You got Behringer Spring is water, Big Rock is down in water. Oh, it doesn't technically say
The
water.
fountains, yeah.
Willow Pond would be water. And then you go to hillsides. So you got Cochrane Hill Road, Barrett Hill. Oh, Hogan's Fountain Water. And then Valley Deep. Both. I mean, the ways I'm glancing at this, they kind of any of those points pointing down. 1, 2, 3. I would say there's really only 3. You've got the base of the Dingle. You got the base at Behringer Spring, and then you got the base down right for Willow Park. As far as like if you go, if it's, I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know.
Could be.
But if those are like actual map markers,
Yeah. If you take both Dingle and Behringer Bridge, and you've got, so then you'd have the Boone, Christensen, whatever the hell your B is, and then you've got, or Bernheim maybe as your B, and then Valley Deep as Dingle or D. So you got A, B, C, D, which is not too big of a stretch, I don't think, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got an X, and then right there through the middle is that area of the Hogan's Pavilion, Hogan Fountain, things like that. I don't know, but I'm just saying that that's also something.
Because I mean, it could literally mean 1 equals marsh, 2 equals hillside, 3 equals Valley Deep. And you just got here with that freaking 7 kicks in it.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Barrett,
that is weird. And even Kid said he didn't know what the hell. He didn't say what the hell, but he didn't know what. He had no idea what that was talking about. He said that in the Calazar's interview. So, yeah.
Puzzle makers need to share more with each other.
Huh?
Puzzle makers need to share more with each other.
They can't share the answers.
No, with each other. Puzzle makers, like the 2 people that make the puzzle.
Yeah.
Not this puzzle and this puzzle.
Yeah. So.
Ooh, outlining in blue I take as a water hint as well, which is interesting if you look at the map as the water, the river. I don't know what the heck that is. Creek.
Yeah.
Is a what if you took that as literally as the blue outline in the painting as a highlighting feature. I don't know.
Yeah, because it doesn't have blue and some of it does. Some of it has blue to a certain point and it runs out, like along the leash. There's an area. Oops. Let's see.
Because like she said, blue actually highlights on her back, which is interesting.
I'm trying to drive this thing. Here we go. Yeah. I don't know. So see, like one portion, it comes down the hand, down the one side of the leash, but not the other side. So I don't know. But that's something that's interesting about the blue outline.
It would be a cool thing to. I'm trying to turn my volume down because the cat has the door open now. If the blue on the map is like a cool little outline in blue that they kind of. I mean, what if your path would be the Beargrass Creek? Hi, Yoda. I wonder if it would be worth looking at the path of the literal path of the creek, the blue on the map, and comparing that to the painting or the verse steps.
I'm going the wrong way. Hold on. Dun, dun, dun. There it is.
Magical.
I don't know. Okay, so the creek goes.
The Eve speak.
Huh?
I said, am I making sense of what I'm saying with the Eve speak? That if you look at, like, if this was a painting, you've got that blue line of the creek.
Yeah. Well, that would go like in front of her face, maybe. If you've seen the post, I think it was Leanne's post that has kind of like the outline of the lady.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it would go in front of her face, then along her back, but then maybe to the front side of the gown, not her front, not like her front of her torso, but like the back has that draped.
Yeah.
Then it would just go along the side of the drape that's closest to us, and then along the bottom of the her low back, and then out to the outside of her. If that was the creek. Let's see.
Yeah, because like I like the Cochrane Bridge chunk, or Barrett Hill is her shoulder sleeve, how her sleeve does something funky. Cuts up like that. Uh-oh. Did she leave me? Don't have me on here by myself. It's not good. Come back, Sunday, come back. We can stop. This is probably a better thing for my brain to ponder by itself anyway. All right. Well, good night, everybody. I'm going to disconnect because I don't want to be out here by myself. And obviously my brain is going off the rails a bit. So I'm going to leave the studio. This is probably going to still keep going because Sunday is running the live and it's from her computer. So this could just be an empty space of deep thoughts of one of our brains. So have a great night, everybody.